Hey everyone, welcome to the stream tonight. I know it's awful late. It's 12 a.m. East Coast, but I figured this is a good time for the rest of the country. So we'll see how it goes. Got a couple people in the chat already. I'm not going to say that. We're only a minute 20 second in. So F Norris, I'm probably saying that completely wrong. I'm just thinking my mind immediately went to the gutter there. Chandler's here. Maestro's here. Booty Bang, which sounds like a great name for a track, is here. Thank you so much. We're going to have some more people come in, I'm sure. I didn't do a long intro because I just want to really jump into everything today, and if anybody misses anything, they can watch it on playback. But I'm joined today by a guest who was someone that was here, I guess, like about 3 weeks ago, and they're back again. Fan favorite, someone who has a completely different perspective has joined me, and that is Low Watermark. Hello, Low Watermark. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Eric. And yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you for being here. We talked briefly before we started, but I'm glad you're able to make it. So
glad to be here.
Hey, what's up, Darth Bunyan? How you doing? All right, so we have a bunch of stuff to go over tonight. I've got some really exciting topics. I think they're exciting, maybe. I don't know. We'll see where we go with this. But we're going to start out with the Nick Rekieta stuff. But I do want to, this is kind of, this right here, favorite comic book. I just looked at that question. I'm like, I don't even know how I would, favorite comic book? Like, individual issue of a comic, or like whole, like a title. Because I mean, like if we're talking like an individual issue of a comic, I don't even know how I would begin to quantify that question. Do you have anything, Low Watermark?
Well, I'd have to go back years, because I enjoyed comic books when I was a kid and stopped right around college time.
Right.
And I've never really picked it up since then. There was the whole, ISOM thing, which led into Comicsgate people, and then I learned about Ethan Van Sciver, and I've looked at some of his stuff, and it's kind of nice. But I don't know modern comic books at all.
Yeah, I'm getting back into them. Actually, I'm paying now for the Marvel Unlimited digital app. I had it before as a promo, like I got a promo code for it, so I downloaded it. I was using it, and that had like almost unlimited comics in terms of like the modern comics. I think a lot of the modern ones, they're digital and like physical release almost at the same time. So I got that app, and I'm like catching up on a lot of stuff. There's some really good stories. Some of them are like, you see the classic characters, and obviously they're very different. So I'm like, I have to fill in the gaps of like 30 years to sort of get to where I am. Because I kind of stuck with certain titles and didn't branch too far out of that. I would say favorite comic book in general, if we're talking about a title, if I went back to when I was growing up, I would say probably the Uncanny X-Men, like the OG 1975 run that restarted everything into the 80s and 90s, and pretty much I would say is the blueprint for a lot of like superhero teams we have now. So I love that. So to do Maestro here says, I've been meaning to ask you this, but your background, all paintings you've done, not this stuff. This is like framed like t-shirts. These are all t-shirts. I just shift them around every once in a while. All the stuff over there are paintings that I did. Yes. And I think it was on one of Dave's stream where I showed off like 3 or 4 different paintings. So I've got a few of them here. I'm gonna open up an eBay store probably soon. I already had an Etsy store, but Etsy takes a big chunk of your sales, so it's not the best place for artwork. It's better for like other things, but yeah, we'll see. So Greg B says Marvel Unlimited got me through 2020. I still have it and I love it. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's $10 a month. I think it's like 10 or $11 a month, and you can just read as much as you want. Some people prefer to read like physical. Low Watermark, are you more of a physical book reader, or do you like digital reading? Like, which do you prefer?
Well, I think there's something about holding the book in your hand and getting it the way that they intended it to come out. I think that they drew it knowing how it would print back at that time, and you don't know what screen somebody's going to watch something on. Depends on the definition of it, how good it is, how big it is. I like people trying to watch feature films on a phone and saying, "Oh, I got a huge experience of this." Really?
Yeah, I don't see that at all. The funny thing is, if you go back and you look at the comic books from like the 80s and 90s, clearly they've been scanned in, because there's no like digital version of that. And they have a different quality to them because it reminds you of reading them back then because of the paper. You know what I mean? You can see it in the scans. And I think it's really cool. Cody here with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Cody. Highly recommend the new Ultimate Comics highly refreshing universe. The new Ultimate, so the ones that just came out, right? Like the Spider-Man that just got released. I heard that one's been very well received. It's like an older Peter Parker with MJ, with kids who became Spider-Man later in life. So it's got a different perspective. Yes, I've heard really good stuff about that. Actually, between the artwork and the writing, I've heard it's phenomenal. So I'm really excited to talk about that one at some point. I'm getting back into that. Plus, I've actually been going to the shop and like buying comics, which is something that I haven't done in forever. But for the last 4 or 5 months, I've been going in and like going into like the indie section and just checking stuff out, picking up things that look interesting to me. The manga section is massive. As soon as you walk in, it's like the first thing you see now. And when I was talking to the shops, they told me that section, because of the cost of some of those items, is almost like 50% of their revenue is just the manga titles. And it's kind of wild. Apparently it's very popular. So,
well, I'm glad they found something to keep them in business so they can at least keep some of the traditional stuff going too.
Some of the other things they're doing is they're actually hosting events there. So they have like Dungeons and Dragons nights and Magic the Gathering stuff and things like that happening where they rent out space, because these guys have huge shops around here, and they have like a lot of space to put tables out with no product on it, because they can store stuff in the back. So like I'll go in there and they'll have like people waiting to do that. And Free Comic Book Day, there are people that are getting their free comic book, but they're buying like 10 other books while they're in there. So they're coming up with creative ways to do it. I do feel like digital has impacted obviously the comic book shops in a way that I don't know if people expected it. Maybe they did expect it. I don't know. Hey, what's up, Defunct? How are you doing? Good to see you. Byron says, F and Gary, just when I thought I was out, he pulled me back in. I have a video from him that we were going to watch. I'm a little concerned though, because I don't know how he gets away with it. Maybe I've been doing YouTube for a long time, and he puts up clips from a pirated version of a movie after he does a review immediately. And I don't know how he gets away with that. Like the video we're watching tonight from him has a lot of stuff from Furiosa in it that was not in the advertising. And clearly it came from like a illegal copy of the movie.
Yeah, they talk about having links all the time, and that concerns me a little. That they talk about that. That just, if you're going to do that, I'm not something I'd put in a video to memorialize forever. I don't know.
So I don't know. We're going to try and watch it. I'm hoping it doesn't get smacked down by YouTube, but he's got the video up. So I don't know how he's getting away with it. I have no idea. Maybe he takes the hit because he's making so much money anyway. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I have no clue. So Debbie says, Critical Role hosts a live stream every Thursday and brings out Candela Obscura every last Thursday of the month. Okay. It's pretty cool. All right. So let's start out. And this is a question that I've seen on several of my videos now. And I hope the person that was asking me is in here. We'll see. If not, they'll watch on playback. But if you guys have been living under a rock the last 4 or 5 days, because it's not been that long actually since this happened. I was looking back and I'm like, it's only been a weekend. But Nick Rekieta, the person that took down Eric July and exposed Eric July, I want to talk about that in a moment. I think there's more to that entire night that people see when they're watching that clip. But Nick Rekieta was how did it happen? They came into his house, like the police raided his house or something like that. Is that right? The way yeah. So the police raided his house based on a mandatory reporter who gave them information. They went into the house and they arrested him, his wife, and another person living there. And I think they're all out now on bond. Yes. Like all of them. There was some very interesting stuff in the police report, which gets misconstrued because people don't understand what the difference between charges and additional charges and things like that. Plus, you don't know when you're talking about different states, the laws and language of laws are different. So I looked at it and I was like, yeah, this looks pretty awful. And I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to, like, this is not going to go away. Like, this is not something we're going to see disappear overnight. This is, I hate to say this, but unless something massive happens, this is going to be the ongoing thing for 2024, I think, is this Nick Rekieta stuff, especially in the law tube space. They're going to they're not going to let go of this, right? Do you feel like that's the case? Or
Yeah, there's no way they're going to move away from this. They've already done so much, and everybody has really planted their flag on what position they're in,
Mhm.
and they've got to keep going with it because
Right.
their audiences are all for it. So, yeah, they're gonna over milk it, and the problem is there's going to be so much more speculation than fact because facts are very slow in coming for something like this.
Mhm.
Real facts have to come out of either court documents or police reports or whatever, and these people are all going to claim they have something. But where are they going to get? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I think there's going to be a lot more drama than there's going to be fact.
Yeah.
So
Serial drama. Yeah. I mean, when I first heard the news break, and I don't want to make light of this because I do think it's a very serious situation, but when I first heard the news break, I'm like, this has the makings of a Netflix series. Like, this is the next like true crime Netflix story because the details of this, like prior to this happening and stuff that came out because of this that was already being speculated about when it comes to Nick, like the drug paraphernalia and stuff that was found at the house versus what people were saying about him because of a live stream that happened on the 15th or 16th, I think. People were talking about that. It's really one of those things where when you become a very large person online, it's almost like when Britney Spears shaved her head. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where something happens to you. You got a bunch of people that really like you. You got a bunch of people that don't like you. And everybody's going to talk about it because let's be honest, it's been a very dry time for like the chud space, the grifty space on YouTube. So everything they can find that will generate views and content for them, they're going to latch onto, even if it's something like this, which is a real person. It's somebody that a lot of law tubers kind of owe Nick for being put on in the first place because most of them got their following from being on his show during, like, he covered so many trials back in the day, and they all
especially Kyle Rittenhouse. That was the big one. Yeah.
Yep. And so it's really interesting to watch this happen to him. And we like, the loyalty is paper thin on the internet. Like, it's paper thin. And so my opinion on this is this, just like it is with any time like a celebrity or somebody gets charged with something, I need to see what happens when they go to court. I don't want to speculate about this stuff too much. I don't want to, dig my heels in too much on one side or the other. When somebody gets charged with something, unless we have something on video that shows us like, yeah, they punched that person. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like an assault where we see that there was actually something happening. Clearly something did happen, but we literally have nothing to go on except for hearsay and the police report. And I don't think that's enough information to understand what actually happened. And this is coming from somebody, I've said before, I'm not like a massive Nick supporter. Low Watermark is a huge fan of Nick. And I'm saying this now that like I'm not ready to chastise somebody, but I'm not ready to exonerate anybody either. I want to wait and see what happens when they go to court. And I've said this about everybody. I said it about Jonathan Majors, said about the whole Johnny Depp thing. Like, all of this to me, like, it's fun to speculate, but at a certain point, it's like you're just stirring the shit, really, So
yeah, and they don't have anything. And what you mentioned earlier about the police report or charge sheet or whatever, one of the things that people are looking at is a lot of charges have multiple categories associated with them, can include this, and this, but you could be charged because you've got one item on that. But the charge said, this or sexual misconduct or something. There was a sexual something in there. Nobody said anything sexual was happening, but that's just the one charge. That's always a combination in Minnesota. That is this thing or that thing. So people say, "Oh my God, look, there's a sex thing in there too." Well, maybe, but that's just the charge.
And this is, and anybody that, well, basically the reason why I'm putting this out is because I just want to let everybody know that I'm not going to continue to make videos about it. Like, I'm not going to make, Nick Rekieta update this week or whatever. I'm not going to do that. If we get some big breaking actual news, like stuff that actually happened, I'll probably talk about it on a live stream, but I'm not going to make video after video after video. There's plenty of people doing that. They can have at it. So this is interesting. So Michael made this comment. I'm curious what your perspective is on this. Nick pretended to be a conservative Christian with good morals. Do you think that there was some sort of like facade going on with Nick, that he was courting that audience? Or do you think that's just maybe people's perception of Nick Rekieta?
Well, I think that I think there's a lot of perceptions that are projected out from Kiwi Farms, especially, where
Mm,
there's a lot of sensationalism. Now, sure, some of the stuff may be true, some of it may not be true. Uh, Nick spent literally so many hours online during trial streams where he might be online for 15 hours a day over the course of weeks.
mhm.
Uh, you can only keep a facade up for so long.
Right.
And between that and all the people who have met him at various meetups and so forth, you get the impression that pretty much what you see is what you get. A guy who
Mhm.
likes to make jokes, who likes to drink, likes to laugh, has, a basic understanding of the law. As he would say, he translates law into English. That's his only real lawyer skill, he says. Is just be able to take legalese and make people kind of understand
Yeah.
it. But anyways, I don't think he's faking it, but he was never tradcon either. He was
Right.
never Bible thumping, all of this. I mean, just look at his humor. He was never prim and proper or anything like that.
Right.
So I think he's maybe a spiritual kind of person in one regard, that he has some beliefs, but he isn't pushing that out on anybody. And yeah, his beliefs are not, this pure moral compass where I will not swear, I will not drink, I will not. No, it's not that. It's not that. So I don't think he was courting an audience. He didn't need to. All
Right.
right. And he backed out of his audience for months, ever since the Eric July interview that kicked the whole thing off and everything hit the fan. He pulled back. He
Yeah.
stopped going on other people's streams. He stopped inviting people on. People would have gone on if he invited them, but he didn't. He pulled back. So
Yeah.
why would he do
So
that?
it isn't just this. Like I look, I'm not a follower of Nick, so I'm not going to sit here and go like I know a lot about certain content creators. Like if you ask me about Nerdrotic or Critical Drinker or Eric July or something, I know a lot about them. I don't know a lot about Nick other than the big videos he's made. Right. As far as him using the N word, if you go over to any stream that he ever did on Rumble, which I went over there twice during his Rumble streams, the entire panel, and I'm not excusing people for saying slurs, but this doesn't shock me because the entire panel, they would be drinking and they would just be saying whatever because Rumble doesn't have any real, as far as I know, they don't have any real restrictions on what you can say and do on Rumble, unless
Right.
I'm completely
Except
lost
for
on that.
actual criminal things, there are no bad words. There's nothing that'll get you
Right.
demonetized or taken down.
Yeah.
He used to do a thing called the Unbreaded, which is a 800-page treatise written by a professor in philosophy, and it is full of the N-word and all. It was a black man who did this, and Nick would read pages from that,
Right.
very often uncensored. So
Yeah,
for every word you can imagine,
and you have to take Nick, like either take him or leave him. I don't think that he's going to apologize for anything that he does because that's just who he is, and that's why you were saying the facade thing. I don't know if that's an accurate take on him because I feel like he is who he is, really. Katie Did's here. Hey, what's up, Katie? Matter of fact, you came in right as I was about to look at one of your clips with low watermark here. So this is an interesting clip. We're going to watch this one. And this is called The New Eric July. And this is from Katie Did here. Have you seen this clip yet?
No, I haven't seen this one.
Okay. Let me see, make sure the audio is good. So I watched about where you see the progress bar. So I've watched about 20 seconds of it, I think 25 seconds. And I said, I want to watch this with low watermark because I want to react to this like as he's saying it. Because to be honest, I don't think there's much difference between the old Eric July and the new Eric July, except that he lets his minions do his fighting for him. And I pitched this up a little bit. So let's do this and go show love to Katie Did, guys. Here we go.
So every time I do something creative, original,
he's 5 seconds in. Every time he does something creative, the last time I checked, the only thing he's done that's technically creative is he wrote the 2 comic books.
I think that's true. I think that's about it.
Because it's clear with the band, he doesn't write the music. Like they're doing all the music. He's just there screaming on the microphone. And then the two Isom comic books. He didn't do anything with any of these other comics. No. He's like, well, I created the characters. I mean, they're derivative characters. There's nothing inherently unique about any of the characters in the Rippaverse.
Yeah.
Okay. 5 seconds in, and I had to pause it already. The debunking has begun, or detracting, as we would say.
Shower with blessings. And that just tells me what I need to be doing.
Mm.
So it might look different. You heard me say how many times?
I mean, if you're saying move differently, you've said it so many times and I've yet to see any sort of different moving. I mean, like I said, the only thing that's really changed is he doesn't really argue with people. He has other people argue for him.
Right. And he backed away from, monetizing his haters and all of that. Some people say he may have backed out because he lost so badly to Nick that he was scarred, or maybe it's because of his business and he says, well, maybe I can't do that anymore.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I completely forgot I was going to bring that up. So the Nick and Eric clip, the classic clip from that stream that goes around and everybody, I mean, that thing has been viewed multiple times by almost every single person, that whole segment with him and Eric July. And we talk about all of the stuff that's really obvious in that clip. I mean, clearly Nick gave Eric plenty of opportunities to turn around and walk out of that conversation. Eric didn't do it because Eric has too much of an ego, too much pride to walk away. So he kept doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down. But the thing about that clip that's really interesting to me, and I think this is something that it didn't even hit me until tonight when I was putting together stuff for the stream. Eric, the way he reacted to Nick in that moment is the way he reacts to everyone who simply ask him questions about things that it is not clear to everybody. You know what I mean? Like people ask him to explain something and he gets defensive immediately. Like you're offending him because he has to give you additional details about something. And this is like, it ruins so many friendships for Eric. I mean, think about all the friendships that have been ruined because he simply feels offended by a question somebody's asked him.
And I wonder where that comes from, because, I mean, there are people who are thin-skinned. There are people who, get defensive over just about anything. But this is one of the most extreme cases I've ever seen. Yeah. People who were supporters of him, people he knew bought big packages of ISOM product, and they ask a question, and a question is an attack. Just a question. He's thrown away big money purchasers because of that too. People he knows bought it and he won't even answer their questions, or gee, this doesn't seem quite right. Oh my God, attack.
I'm going to call this right now. If he were still tight with EVS, Yaira would have been $2 million.
Oh, if there was something and EVS could push it because the quality was there and all of that, that book could have gone anywhere.
Yep. I truly believe that. I think if he still had some of the ties, some of the bridges that's been burned, if he still had those, Yaira would have done much, much more. Alpha Core probably would have done more, honestly. But he burned those bridges. But I just thought it was interesting. Like, I look back at that clip and I'm like, this tells me that a lot of the problems that have happened with Eric is just Eric's refusal to simply answer questions. Yeah. That's it,
Yep.
See.
Bro, I understand if you found out about me when I was in those trenches. Very interactive, engaged with everybody from the people that love me to the people that hate me. I can understand why the new Ripper, the new Eric July is, which is really the same Eric July, is just Eric July in a professional lane, more professional lane.
So it's not the same. What is he even talking about? The new Ripper, not the new one, the old one. It's still the same one, but now it's more professional, which means it isn't the same one. It's different.
A totally different character, which, I wonder how much he projects a character versus the real self, because he's definitely very different now than he was a couple years back. So something's different here, Eric, and I don't know that I'd call it exactly professionalism.
He thinks it's professional, I guess. I don't know. This is funny right here. Look, love a good third-person Cope rant. Yeah, like this is the other thing I've noticed about Eric and Az. And if you've ever watched their streams, and trust me, the only way I can watch them is through Katie Did's clips because I'm not sitting through all of that stuff. But if you watch their streams, it's like they're just creating arguments to argue about. Like they're making up things to be mad about. And so they'll talk about like T. Franklin, for example. They'll bring up T. Franklin's name. And the next thing you know, 10 minutes later, they're creating like, well, I bet you T. Franklin would do this. And I bet you this person would do that. And I bet like it's all these like scenarios that they're just making up in their head. These aren't things that really happened. And they'll make a clip about it. And it's like, you just clipped a complete straw man. Like none of this stuff is happening. You just made it up.
Yeah, they have a weird interaction too. I don't know. I don't see any chemistry between them. Have you watched enough to see? They don't seem to play well off of each other. I would rather see Eric on with Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers because they've had chemistry. You know, they can joke with each other and so forth, but Az and him are just, one of them is just staring while the other one's talking. And
I actually think Az, like, I don't like Eric July. I think Eric July is just a scam artist, but Az is insufferably bad. Like I literally, like the clip of Ethan hitting the camera or whatever, that is my internal monologue. Like anytime I'm watching Az, anytime.
Yeah, he has changed, because there was a time a while back where he was funny, he was kind of cute, you know, but he like leaned into some kind of persona that people were talking about him, and now he's playing up the ass character. I mean, asshole character. He's leaning into it so hard that I'm actually starting to hate the man, and I used to support him. I mean,
it's really weird. I used to watch his channel when he was doing like all of the World of Warcraft videos and the gaming news stuff that he was doing. I really enjoyed that because he was very presentable. He was funny. His jokes weren't too cringe. Like they were edgy jokes, but they weren't like just cringe jokes. And now it's just like total cringe stuff. And it reminds me a lot of Boogie. Are you familiar with Boogie 2988?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So Boogie had a character called Francis, where he was like he was the big, fat, silly guy, sort of like knocking tables over and doing a lot of that comedy that you would see back in the 80s. There's so many comedians from back then that were just the big, fat, funny guy. And that's what he did on his channel. And then he lost a lot of weight and he wanted to become less of that funny guy and wanted to be more legitimate. And the problem is, once you've established yourself as this particular brand, it's really hard to change that in the eyes of the internet. You can sort of step a little bit to the left or step a little bit to the right when it comes to your content. But when you take a complete like turn and go the opposite direction, that's what happened. I think with Az, like even in that, I think there was a thumbnail recently, I talked about it on the other podcast, where they were like all surfing on Az's back. He was a big fat, like right. Magic carpet or whatever. And this is coming from a guy that has probably lost half his weight now. He's lost a lot of weight, but his friends will always see him as the fat guy. That's who he's always going to be to these guys.
Yeah.
And so I think the issue is that he's trying to change and be this different person, but deep down inside, he knows he'll never be seen as that different person. He's always going to be that guy to these folks. And there's nothing he can change about that, because if he acts out on it, they're going to give him shit about it. They're never going to change their opinion of him. And he's always going to be the butt of the joke, as is always going to be the clown for them. And so he plays it up all the time. And I think he's just lost he just doesn't have a position anymore. Like, look at him with Eric. He's sitting on camera with Eric every single week, offering pretty much nothing but being a yes man for Eric July and being the clown for Eric to react to. That's all he does.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a lot of more anger too is coming through. You can't joke the way he jokes, and I put jokes in quotes there. You can't joke that way without a real amount of underlying anger, tension, something. And you can see it in his rants now. They're not funny rants. They're edgy and tinged with hate and anger, and I don't know.
I just don't like the histrionic nature of what he does. You know what I mean? Like the performative nature of what he does is very like over the top for the sake of being over the top. And I realize we're on the internet and people want to be seen in a way, you know what I mean? If you're making content, but you don't want to be a lol cow. And I mean, literally that's what he is. Outside of his echo chamber, he's a lol cow.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he acknowledges that or not. Anyway, we got sidetracked. Let's get back to Katie's clip and see what Eric's got to say.
I can understand if you're like, look, man, it's not the guy I signed up for. I'm not into that shit. Okay.
So it's a bait and switch? Bait and switch situation. You sign up for Eric July and now you get professional Eric July. It's like two different things. It's not what I ordered in the mail.
All right. I'm not gonna be mad at you for that. I understand. But weighing all of our options here, after making as much money as we've made, after giving,
is it just me or does he scratch himself all the time?
He has a lot of tics, I guess you might call them. But people have pointed out when he goes for his nose, it's usually because he's about to lie about something. But that's only when he's talking to somebody else.
We need some gamblers and some people in here that go to Vegas and Atlantic City to tell us like what these are, because I'm not good about doing that, reading those. But yeah, that's a good point. All right, let's see.
Being able to give people jobs and and sort of inject some sort of excitement with people in comics. That's what I should be doing.
I will say in this clip, I don't know if he did something during the day that required him to be around people, but his beard looks like, well, like he's groomed it today in this clip, whenever this clip was. This might have been the time when he was filming the videos for like all the projects and stuff, because normally it looks very unruly, but today it looks a little bit better. All right, looks better than Sturgis's beard.
So that's what I'm gonna do, and it looks different. It looks very, very different, but I'm okay with that, and I think most of the fans are gonna be more okay with that because you're getting.
You know what this reminds me of, and maybe I'm telling on myself here, but you know when you're like in your car by yourself, you have like this internal monologue, and you're thinking about like what you're going to be doing later, or you know, I've got to have a conversation with somebody, and what am I going to say or whatever. It's like you're having that internal monologue, but he's just saying it out loud to people on his live stream. He's having this sort of this outward
consciousness thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Katie says this is from the Yaira closeout stream. So this is last night. So this is probably why he's like, well, he's got a nice shirt on, nice hat, no stains on it, because you know he's got that hat that's got a big ass stain on it that I see in some of his videos.
Yeah, he has a shirt that actually covers his shoulders. You know, so
yeah. So
this is the best he's looked in actually quite a while.
True. You know, maybe he is the professional. Maybe this is professional Eric July. Maybe that's who we're looking at right now. Maybe that's the person that we're seeing. Let's see what he says here to wrap this up.
More books, you're getting more material, you're getting a lot of cool things that we're doing.
Clip, and snip, snip.
I love this outro.
Yes,
Katie,
this is great.
This is so amazing. Anyway, that was great. So, okay, so that was the short video, but I wanted to look at that one to sort of like ease us into the content for the I was like, let's get to a short one, a little 1 minute and 30-second ditty. But yeah, you know, the thing is, he's talking about more stuff coming out. Let's think about what we've had so far in the Rippaverse that could be considered actual, like, new stuff for people. So we had ISOM 1, we've had ISOM 2, we've had Alpha Core 1, and we're just now getting Yaira.
Right.
Those are the things that he's put out. And I'm not talking about merch. I don't count merch as like engaging content. Merch is just merch. It's what it is. It's not giving you anything. He's had a live action trailer, which was a complete joke. I think that's probably the worst thing he's done since he started, like in terms of like his visual, like the perception of him as a creator, like that was bad. And I don't think he had much to do with it, to be honest. So,
well, no, I mean, the Sasuke sisters obviously put that together, but talk about kind of being a lol cow. He did that. And then they did the behind the scenes making of. That is insane. Talk about a project just to glorify yourself. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's an incredible thing. Think about that. I mean, he's got a trailer and he's got a behind the scenes. The quality of the behind the scenes is actually quite good, by the way. The people who filmed that knew how to interview people, knew how to frame it. That was high quality.
I thought it was. Yep.
Yeah,
I would agree.
But yeah, so that is kind of a joke, you know, and I'm sure he thought that was going to be the biggest thing ever. And then he had to, when people started kind of laughing a little, he had to say, well, you know, we made it in a day. It didn't cost anything, you know. Okay.
I also think it was funny that when he was on other people's streams, a lot of people would come in and super chat and say dumb shit because he doesn't allow that on his stream. So I thought it was funny that they would get around that by asking during somebody else's stream.
Yeah.
Okay, so to show you the difference in the quality, this is a shout out for Katie did. So to show you the difference in the quality of what Katie does versus what they do, we're gonna watch a clip with Eric and Az that they clip themselves on the channel. We're probably not gonna get through this whole thing, even though I've got it pitched up and it's a 10-minute clip. And I can tell you right now, I can only take but so much Az, but I want to see what they're saying in this because it's talking about the Yasuke and Assassin's Creed, which some people are still talking about that, but I feel like the news cycle has sort of moved on from that. So I'm not really sure why this clip is out, but they posted this. I think they're trying to run with the fact that he's supposed to be like a gay character. I haven't really seen that either. Let's see where they go with this, but I can tell you right now, like Eric is already boring enough, but Eric with Az is another level of like, I don't want to watch this shit. So let's see where they go with this. I'm just curious.
I'm going to go here. And matter of fact, I'm gonna pass it to Az first.
Why does he do that? All these clips, it's like I'm gonna let Az answer first. Have you noticed that? Like it seems like every clip that they upload, it's like I'm gonna show something on screen and then I'm gonna let Az talk about it.
Yeah, it's weird. And of course, this is an Eric stream since he's on the left. I assume this is from his channel.
Yeah.
Maybe they've got something worked out where they hand it off in a way. They must have tried to script something to make this work. It doesn't work, but imagine if they just went off the cuff, because there's no way they're just going off the cuff here. They've got to have a plan to be this bad.
So let's see where they go with this. I usually, so let me tell you guys my process. When I look at a clip, if I find there's a lot of things within the first minute that don't have citations or they're just making stuff up, that's usually how I decide if I'm going to make a video on something, because I only do one video a day. Typically, I know some channels like Ryan Cannell does like how many, like 5 or 6 videos a day. I can't be bothered to make that many videos. So I'd usually do like one video a day. But Yellow Flash, Hypnotic, these guys are pumping out a lot of videos because they're literally just reading articles most of the time. But I'll watch a clip to see. So we're going to watch a few minutes of this and see if there's anything in here worth talking about. Because a lot of times these clips from their streams are just boring. They're just not good. So we'll see what happens with this.
Oh. No. Yeah.
What the fuck is this?
Right. So some weirdo who followed.
Matter of fact, I'm going to look up who this person is. He said some weirdo, so I feel like that's this dismissive language. So who is Bun Burry? Let's see. Let's see who this person is. I don't know who this person is. This person only has a couple thousand followers on Twitter. Why are we talking about their tweet?
Well, they do this all the time. Have you ever noticed that when they're looking for some kind of thing in the griftosphere, they will engage with somebody with like 20 followers if necessary to find the tweet that meets their narrative?
Yeah.
So I think they go farming for stuff.
It has to be, because this person, I'm looking at their account and they're somebody from Japan, studying martial arts or whatever. They have a Substack, which means they probably have a lot of articles and stuff they talk about, but they only have 2,700 followers on Twitter. They're not reaching a large audience. I'm looking at their tweets and 5 likes, 15 likes. I don't understand. And it wasn't like this person was talking to them. This is not them responding to somebody who was tweeting for them. And it's good to know that like Eric obviously uses his brand Twitter to go through and like collect tweets to talk about on his show, because you see the Rippaverse comic Twitter handle in the corner there. So that's cool. Here we go.
Now, this is their quote. DEI professional. DEI professional. So fake.
I'm going to read this because he's not reading it. He's talking about it, but he's not reading it. So let's read this. Since we have historic evidence of Yasuke being a Kosho and Japanese DEI professionals backing the fact that Yasuke was a Kosho, I look forward to Ubisoft maintaining historical accuracy and representation and making Yasuke into an LGBTQ icon. So this doesn't sound like a serious tweet to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't actually get it.
The hashtag slay thing, it seems to me like it's somebody doing headcanon and trying to like get a hit tweet. That's what it looks like to me, because I don't think this, like, I know it's hard to read. Let me see if I can blow this up on the screen a little bit. I know it's hard to read, but the last part of that is, I look forward to Ubisoft maintaining historical accuracy and representation by making Yasuke into an LGBTQ icon. Thank you. With a screenshot. Because it says DEI professional, whatever. It almost sounds like the tweet is making fun of the screenshot. I guess I'm not following it. I'm not either, which is why I'm wondering, why are they even talking about this? Let's hear. I'm pretty sure it's here because Az has a moment. So let's see if we get to that.
Fake job.
Yeah, that's not real. Not
fake. So the whole thing's fake, but I'm a professional faker. So this person has extrapolated information that maybe
There's a bit of irony with Az calling something like a fake job, right?
Yes, I know.
Because I mean, look, even if you don't agree with what DEI does or whatever, fair enough. I don't have an issue with people, not into it or whatever their opinion is. But to call it a fake job while you literally sit at a computer and talk shit about stuff all day long, and that's your number one form of making money.
Yeah.
How was that? I'm not saying what I'm doing is changing the world here. That's not my argument. But I'm also not calling people's jobs fake either. So anyway.
one time at some point in feudal Japan, at somewhere in some location, somehow, one of the sword bearers of the lords might have taken it up the wrong one from the lord.
Oh, this video's here because they like to have Az talk about gay sex. That's what this clip is.
Oh, okay.
Because Az, almost every clip that gets uploaded with Az is him talking about gay sex. And that's not hyperbole. I literally mean that. When I go through and I'm like looking at clips that I might want to talk about on video or whatever, when I go to their channel, and Katie can probably confirm this, a vast majority of the conversation that Az has on this podcast is about like gay sex, like giving oral sex, receiving sex somehow, whatever. It literally is what he does on stream all the time. Now, if I were to do that, if people were to come to my live streams and that's all I talked about, that would be like wrong. Oh, it's so gross. Why is he doing that? It's really inappropriate. But when Az does it, it's funny. It doesn't mean anything at all, right?
Well, he gets so extreme on some of this too. 8:00 in the morning, time to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think this clip is like possibly not. We'll give it another minute, and then if it's just him talking about gay people having sex, I don't even want to hear that. So let's.
Okay. So ergo ipso facto, therefore, Yusuke's now an LGBTQIA plus two-spirited to the power of 6 icon.
Yeah. And this is what since we have historical evidence, is what this tweet says.
Which is why I think the tweet is a joke. This tweet reads like a joke to me. Because they use a screenshot, and look at the screenshot of this person. Like, it looks to me like they're making fun of this person's Instagram profile. Like, not straight, DEI professional, pronouns in bio, all of that stuff.
Right.
That's what it feels like to me. I could be wrong. I could be. But again, I'm also not going around looking at people with 2,700 followers and pretending like they're speaking for the majority of somebody's community. Like,
you need to see more of this Anthony guy's other content in order to be able to tell if this is just kind of a joke, because it's a whole setup. There is a whole setup there, historical evidence and all that. Yeah, so I see where that.
Yeah, I'm looking through here now. Just kind of going through. He's got like California is not a country, should be a country, not a state. He's got video clips from TikTok where he's making fun of foreigners and stuff. Like, I just don't think that this was a serious tweet, and I think they misread it. Because he's posting memes and laughing at them on his Twitter.
So in a sense, he's kind of doing what members of the fellowship do. They find something and then they become sarcastic about it or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it does seem to read like he's not saying, yes, there's real evidence of this, let's make this person an icon.
It's like if we took Az seriously when he was like, I woke up and wanted to suck a dick. You know what I mean? Like, if we took him serious at that moment, he'd be like, oh, it was just a joke. Like, why would you think I'm serious? And I think it's an ironic tweet. And that's what I'm getting from just kind of going through his Twitter feed. But I don't even think they did that. I think they saw this, they took a screenshot of it, and they were like, this is perfect. This allows us to basically say that gay people want Yasuke to be gay. And I wouldn't be surprised if the other videos, because I've seen a few other videos where they're talking about that, and I'm like, in my community, I've never heard anyone say that. And I'm in a lot of gaming groups with other gay people, and no one said that. So I'm like, who is it who's saying this? And we couldn't figure it out. So I think it's just a thing. I said I'd give him a couple minutes, 25 more seconds.
ACK being
No.
kosho. What is that? Just gay in Japanese?
Well, okay. So it means
So they don't even know what it is.
Well, let's see if Az has anything after that.
If Az makes another joke here and doesn't give any real information, I think that's pretty much what we're gonna get out of this video.
it means basically a sword bearer for the Lord.
Oh,
okay.
But they decided then to Wikipedia it and add to that.
So the retroactive.
So they Wikipedia up and said not only were they sword bearers, but might have taken out the shitter.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
That's it. Okay.
So we're done with this video. Like, that's the reason why I have an issue with their content, because of that stuff. Like, I know they're trying to be funny, but like, if you're going to take a firm stance on something that you believe is an actual threat, like if they truly believe that this was a threat to gaming, why are you making stuff up like that? Why are you using a tweet from somebody with less than 3,000 followers and going, oh, this is representative of an entire community, which I can't even tell. Like, again, I don't know if the tweet is real or not. It reads as humor to me, but I don't know for sure. You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
well, they needed something to support that, because everything is this. There's a movement. The theys out there are always trying to get something going. They're trying to indoctrinate. They're trying to change the culture. They're trying to force this stuff into all media and entertainment. They're trying to take away, all of your entertainments and all of that.
Yeah.
I was surprised that Az actually even had that little bit where he said, well, that meant sword bearer to the... Wow. He actually knew something.
And then he adds on, and occasionally they take it up the ass or whatever.
Come on.
Yeah. So I saw this tweet earlier, or this post earlier here in the chat, and I wanted to talk about this with you because I haven't had a chance to. Have you seen anything about this Daily Wire cartoon, the Mr. Bertram show or whatever? Have you?
Well, I've seen a lot of people make content about it, and
it's universally disliked. Like no one likes this cartoon.
Nobody
it reminds me of Velma.
Likes it.
It reminds me of Velma. You know how everybody collectively was like, Velma's just not good. Like, I don't know anyone, even in my own personal life, that's like, I want to watch that cartoon. Like, my partner loves a lot of these adult animated cartoons or whatever. He was like, after 2 episodes of Velma, he's like, yeah, not gonna do it. Like, no one I know liked Velma. And I feel like the same thing has happened with Mr. Bertram, because I've seen clips of it. Like, Daily Wire's trying to make it happen. And I mean, they have a financial reason why, but they're uploading clips of it. Like, if you look at the shorts and you read the comments, like, Daily Wire fans are like, this is fucking awful. Like, remove this off your service right now. It's so bad. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, because again, this is the great thing about like the two of us being able to chat. Because I know when we're together in other, like, I love other streams, I do, but just having 2 people together, it's really easy to sort of go back and forth here. So I'm glad that you're here. I talked about this a bit. I was on Katie Did stream, and I was on the actual podcast that I'm on with the other guys, the Showcast. And we talked a little bit about this, and it seems like the Daily Wire, the idea of spiteful content is becoming not appreciated by the people that are watching that service, because I think that people, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but if I were a person paying for like a service that was all gay content, right, and everything that came out was gay people making fun of straight people, I would be like, no, this is not what I want to see. I want to see content that speaks to my community, things that represent my community, because that's why I'm paying for the service. I think the Daily Wire has missed the mark on that, because they only release spiteful content. And I think a lot of people, they would love to see like a cop drama made by Daily Wire, or an actual conservative comedy made by Daily Wire, not just stuff that they're doing for internet clicks, which is what I think Mr. Bertram was. I think Mr. Bertram was them trying to get internet clicks, and I don't think people that are paying for that service want that. Is that a fair assessment?
I agree. I mean, if you start with Lady Ballers, of course, as their biggest, I guess that's one of the biggest investments they made.
Yeah.
That was a pretty expensive production and everything. All right. The 3 or 4 minute clips out of that is probably all the funny stuff. I've watched as much of it as I could bear.
Right.
It is taking a shot. It is detracting. It is negative. It is making fun of. They're not providing any new or good content that's positive. So when we talk about the people in that space, the griftosphere, the fellowship and all that, all they seem to be able to do is make negative comments on stuff. Now, negative comments are fine when you've got an audience that says, I really hate X, and these guys come along and tell me X. But people keep asking them, where's the positive stuff? You're telling us all the stuff to hate. Where are you recommending something that's good to me? And you've talked about, the latest X-Men stuff where they are woefully lacking in pushing positive feedback on that. A couple of them made supposed apologies and all that, but why aren't they out there pushing that? Say, this is good, go watch it. So it's the same thing here. Why aren't they making entertainment that isn't woke, but isn't anti-woke?
Right. That's a good way to put it. I didn't think about that. The argument is always, we just want good entertainment. Well, you have a platform, you have a lot of people working with you that have connections. And I can guarantee if you wanted to get like big actors on and people that don't necessarily want to be associated with that negative stuff, if you just wanted to bring them in on a project that was just a good show, like a sci-fi show or a cop drama or a comedy like Roseanne or something, you could probably get them to do that. But they're not going to engage in the culture war. That's not going to work.
Yeah, they don't need to put out. It's almost like they looked at somebody like Nerdrotic and said, what sells? What gets the clicks? What are people there for? And said, okay, let's turn that into movies. So it's that same thing. Go for that audience and always go for the negative stuff and make it funny. But, we'd like a little bit more depth too. I'd like to see a good show that's a good show that isn't in the war, So, it'd be nice if they expanded a little. I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, they've got all the money in the world. They should be able to make whatever they want.
I think they're actually going to have to go back to the drawing board after this reception to Mr. Bertram and figure out what they're going to do, because another one of those types of shows, if they're working on that right now, scrap it. It's not going to work. It's not going to work for you. Go ahead.
Well, what do you think about, now I know that their Snow White thing was really just a dig at Disney, but I don't see them making Snow White as an anti-woke joke. It looks like they want to make that as that would be.
What if that happens?
If they did that, then they've learned nothing about any of this. All right, they know nothing, and that would be a massive failure.
If it's, I don't want to say it's a bait and switch because we've only seen like that 1 minute teaser or something where it's just her singing and like the shot of her in the woods or whatever. But what if? And I'm not doing this seriously, everybody. Okay, this is not me like saying I have inside information about this, but pure speculation. What if they make it a joke in the sense that like the 7 dwarves are like all diverse and they're doing that as a joke, and like just the whole thing is literally them trying to make fun of Disney by making a Disney movie.
Yeah, leaning into the. What did they call them? The San Francisco Baristas is what they call the ragtag group or something like that.
Yeah.
But I did get the impression that they wanted to actually make a true to the original story movie with everything pure and so forth.
They had to push that back because they didn't want to put it out before Disney.
Well, yeah, they want to go head to head and hope that that one's quote woke and theirs comes to the rescue.
Julia, it's really hard to argue against like this statement. It's hard for people to say the opposite because they haven't really put out content to show that they're really trying to make a difference. Right now, it is just all spiteful content. That's the big thing against them. Let's see. Christian here says Has-Been Hotel came out a couple months ago, even the Chuds watched it. Yeah, but that was one of those things where I think some people were okay with it and some of them tried to. There was a lot of culture war stuff with Has-Been Hotel because the fact it's supposedly like anti-religious. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. We'll see. I don't know a lot about it, but I know it's very popular. Did you see anything from Has-Been Hotel? It was like a Amazon Prime show or something.
No.
All right, so this is interesting. Christian said, "Did you hear about Grum's fans turning on him?" I saw. Okay, so I don't really have anything pulled up for this, but I'm going to go on what I read. So apparently, Stellar Blade added in some of the costumes that they removed, like from the game. They put a few of them back in, but they also kept the quote unquote censored costumes in. And apparently they didn't turn the blood back on, and they didn't fix some of the like previous designs or whatever. So they like Grum's came out and was like, "Oh, this is a big victory. We won." But then looking at it, it's like, no, they're most likely getting ready to sell those costumes back to people, which is what I think they intended to do. I think that might have been the plan all along, was to sell the sexy outfits in a cash shop. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, look, a lot of these outlets or a lot of these studios like Ubisoft have made it very clear that they don't want people to quote unquote own their games. They want people to basically rent games. So it wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to sell these costumes back in a cash shop. I don't know. But Grums, like, I think Grums is almost 60 and he's in here arguing about the sex appeal of like characters that are like young girls. I'm not saying anything like, look, I'm not suggesting anything that about him, in that regard, but it's just a little like, is this really the biggest thing you could be complaining about? We have a lot of unethical shit going on in gaming that's a bigger deal. I would even say like the if you want to argue about the DEI stuff, it seems like that's a bigger argument than arguing about whether or not a character's boobs are showing. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like if they went into, they don't want to actually probably take on the serious side of the business, like all the money involved or not owning the games or anything like that. Just this is an easy thing to take on because, people will get behind it.
So here, let's talk a little about the Furiosa thing. Now, have you seen the movie at all?
No.
Did you go and see it? Okay. I'm not a huge Mad Max fan, but I know a lot of people are big fans of this property. So there's been a lot of stuff going on, and I don't want to spoil this, but the Nerdrotic video, I believe, does kind of spoil some of the stuff in the movie, so we might not watch the video. We might just talk about it. But here's the quartering, and it says, Furiosa was the worst performing film for Memorial Day weekend in 30 years. It needs over 500 million just to break even after marketing. I'll be honest, most modern blockbuster movies, that's kind of the target number for almost all of them now. Despite great reviews, it just made 31 million and barely beat a Garfield movie. Nobody knew about it. People are sick of female protagonists. And this is what sparked my video from earlier today, where I was like, straight white men are the problem with movies. And there was a bit of sarcasm in that video because clearly I don't believe that. I made the video because I think it's dumb to look at a movie that has a critical reception of a critic reception of 89%, a fan reception of 91%, based on a property by George Miller in a world that everybody seems to love, that it's the vast lore of Mad Max and all that, and go, you know what the problem is? It's the woman. I think that's such a reductive way to look at what the issue is with movie theaters right now. And I talked about Fall Guy, which was probably the biggest movie prior to this one that came out in terms of like star power. And that movie flopped too. It's already out on streaming right now. And it just came out at the beginning of May.
It would be something different if the audience score was low and the comments from the audience was, you know what, gender swap, hated it, blah, blah, blah. I really wanted Mel Gibson back, whatever. If it was that, then okay, you might have something to back it up. But how does he get to that? People are sick of female protagonists based on everything else on the screen. It's just the audience likes it. So what the heck? I mean,
well, there's a series of tweets here. This is really funny. So we go here, and Quartering says, this makes it even worse. At no point did I say the movie wasn't good. Many of the replies seem to be arguing something I didn't say. Just saying people see strong female lead and they are out. So he's not arguing that the movie is bad. He's arguing that there's a woman in the movie.
And the reason it didn't make money, in spite of the people who saw it liking it, is because it's a strong female lead.
Right.
I don't see how you get to that conclusion.
I mean, look, love it or hate it, Barbie was a massive movie last year. So you mean to tell me that a movie that came out around the same market time as Barbie with a much, much, much more, I don't know, dynamic, like you think of Mad Max, you think about like it's going to be an action movie, it's going to be a big thrill ride or whatever. You have a dynamic film you can go, it's like a popcorn flick. It's George Miller, looks really good. All the previews look really good. You mean to tell me that they were like, oh, Barbie is amazing, but the strong female lead in a Mad Max movie, which we know is going to be basically, look, I don't want to spoil the movie, but Chris Hemsworth is almost a bigger part of the movie than Anna is. His character is arguably, I don't know, like there's almost an hour of time where he's the only main character in the movie. So we're not going to blame him for that. We're going to blame the fact that she's on the poster as like one of the lead characters. But because look, first weekend sales are not reflective, usually not reflective of word of mouth. That's second weekend sales. So you have your first weekend, which should be the people that want to go see it from the jump, the people that are ready to go out and support something for whatever reason. And then second weekend is word of mouth. So I don't know how the first, well, I don't say the first. I don't know how Fury Road did, but some people were saying Fury Road picked up in the second weekend because it had a lot of really positive feedback and people went out and saw it in the second weekend. So maybe that'll happen. But if you're arguing that the movie is a good movie, critics love it, fans seem to love it or whatever, how are you going to argue that strong female lead is the problem when everybody that went and saw it, 91% thought that the movie was good?
Yep. Yeah. I don't know how they get there. They're looking, they have the story they want to tell, and then they're just trying to shoehorn it in.
Now, this is interesting. Do you know anything about this person, Lauren Southern?
I've watched her at times, but
okay. So is she a conservative person or?
Oh, geez, it's been a while. Yes, she was in the conservative space. She left for a while, came back. So that's as much as I'm
just going to kind of briefly look at her YouTube channel. She's got a picture of her hunting with a rifle. So I'm going to say she's probably.
She's in this space.
Yeah, she's probably more right-leaning. I don't know a lot about her, so I'm not going to make too many comments about that. But anyway, she says, Barbie, featuring a female protagonist, was highest top-grossing film in the last year and 14th of all time. The box office does not agree with you. And he says the box office strongly agrees with me. No, it doesn't. That's the issue. It doesn't. There's a lot of movies that are flopping that don't have women as lead characters. So what is his proof that this is the problem with this film specifically? Does he have some feedback from people that women were the problem? Like, did people report to him and tell him specifically, I saw a woman on the poster? Or is this something that he's heard from the griftosphere? Because I feel like that's probably the griftosphere.
I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure that he heard it in the griftosphere. I think it's just because of the poster. Have you ever noticed the way these guys look at these things? Okay. Mm-hmm. You see the position of the woman on the poster along with some male co-star.
Yeah.
Sometimes for instance, Thor: Love and Thunder, Natalie Portman versus Chris Hemsworth.
Right.
All right. They put her kind of front and center and all say, oh. And so the guys were me, oh. And then when you look at a woman like this with the shaved head and all that, because to them, oh, they're trying to make the woman look like a man. They're trying to put the woman into the male space. They're making her look like a man, blah, 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 and so forth. They don't like it from the poster. Right. I can tell you that they see that poster and say, DEI, woke, bull.
Even though that makes no sense with George Miller. If you knew George Miller, you would know that's not the case. George Miller does not make movies because studios tell him to. It's not the kind of director he is.
It's just the way it looks, because I think they think that their audience doesn't like that at all.
Right.
And I think their audience, in some cases, is actually a little bit more intelligent than they give them credit for. So they lean right into, see, look, they put big muscles on her. They put her, with the shaved head and all that. Yep. That's a DEI thing. Yeah. It's all woke.
This is the one thing that I really like, Low Watermark. It says, Laura Southern goes, and this is hilarious to me because I do believe there's been this, you and I are a good example of this. There's been this like desire for people to sort of come back together again. And I'm seeing it all over the place. People are tired of being at odds with each other. They're ready to sort of, I don't know, intermingle again. Like we went through a period of time where that wasn't really happening. And I see a lot of people sort of gravitating back towards that again, where they're like, I want to be able to reach out to somebody else, have a conversation, because I don't think anybody truly thrives in an echo chamber. I think that it's a very short-term thing. Like you can't sustain that. And we're seeing it with a lot of these grift channels. There's a couple of outliers, Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker, both are growing, but most of the channels in that space are not growing. They're not seeing any growth at all. And I think that has to do with there's a finite amount of people that can fill up that bubble.
And people eventually starts pulling away from that when they've heard it all too many times. And if you're not getting new audience in to replace them, and where are they going to get them from?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no,
Laura here says, and this is the reason why I made that statement. She goes, arguing with the anti-woke is really beginning to feel like arguing with the woke from 2016. It's really sending me for a spin. And I had to sit back and think about that. And I'm like, holy shit. I actually understand what she means. Even though I've always been a progressive person, I get the comparison for her. You know what I mean? Somebody that's conservative. I understand that because she's arguing with somebody that technically should be in the same space as her. But Quartering and these guys have gone so far to the right that it's becoming impossible for them to even intermingle with people who are conservative, because the arguments are like, it's like arguing with a wall.
Well, they never give any ground on anything. All of the woke statement stuff is hard and fast as far as they're concerned. You can't actually defend any movies. Somebody on FNT tried to defend Barbie. It's been so long now, I don't remember which one it was. Saying no, this was a good movie, and they did not want to hear it. Right. You know, it's just, it's a big movie, but it's not good. It's, women in the lead and all of that, and no, it was a good movie, and they didn't want to hear it.
And it used to be there was a time when these guys would argue about quality, but that's gone out the window. Now it's not about writing, it's not about acting, it's literally about identity. That's why I made the video I made earlier. Like, I have not heard them argue for good writing in a while. It seems like that argument's gone. Now it's literally just X person is in this thing, so it's automatically bad.
Yeah.
There was a time when they tried to be more nuanced about it. And I think them going so hard about identity is speaking to what you just talked about, where I don't think they're seeing growth. So they're trying everything they can. It's like a desperation attack to sort of, to try and pull in whoever they can. There's only but so far they're going to be able to go before it becomes unsustainable. And I think we're getting to that point for them, for a lot of them.
And they're trying to reinforce with the base they still have, the people who have stuck with them and are literally still cheering them on from where they are right now. They're digging deeper, they're going harder. Because if you get those people more worked up, maybe there's more super chats, maybe there's more engagement. So it's like whenever you move to the next level of something, you're forced to move beyond it. All right. Like, for instance, a quick aside, when the whole Marvel thing went to Infinity Stone saga, okay, you went from simple level enemies to universal level disaster. Once you do that, and I was looking and saying, why would you go there? Because there's nowhere you can go after that. You've endangered the entire universe. You can't go back to street level fighting for the Avengers after that. So this is where they are. They've gone so hard on all this anti-woke stuff that now they have to ratchet it up to get the same high. All right. So their audience is not going to say, oh yeah, this is woke, blah, blah. They've got to go deep. They've got to go hard, and they've got to make grand statements about this stuff in order for their audience to say, yeah, because their audience has heard it all. So they got to go magnify it more, amplify it more.
It's crazy to me. I feel like it's really weird when someone says something. Again, I feel like there's a desire for people to sort of like mend some of the destroyed bridges between communities. I actually blame a lot of it on these culture vultures, these clout goblin guys that have pushed so hard to do this. There's a lot of people that I know used to view my other channel that really enjoyed my content that now don't like me because I don't agree with the fact that some of the people that they watch, the kind of content they're making, right? I've been very outspoken about it. So now I'm the villain. Now I'm the bad guy. They drew that line in the sand and they're like, we're not going to, we don't want to come back and engage with you anymore because of this reason or whatever. And I would never ask that of any of my viewers. I would never tell my viewers, like you have to only agree with me. And if somebody else disagrees with me or doesn't like me, you can't go in their streams. You can't go comment on their videos. If I see you over there, that's a problem. And I feel like that community, like you said, you talked about with FNT, any sort of different opinion than what the main narrative is you are exiled. You're out. You're done. That's it. And did you see the comic book girl 19 thing on FNT?
Yes, that was interesting. A few clips made of that one where she didn't fall lockstep right into line.
No, and the comments are so awful under that stream. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see her on FNT again. I don't think we'll see it. The comments, because Ryan Cannell even so subtly was like, "You don't want to go there," and I thought
I saw
that's kind of like he was kind of strong arming her a little bit with that comment. But you don't want to go there. The chat's always right, because they realize that that's where their money is, in that rhetoric that comes from the chat. And if you have somebody on the stream that's real, is going to tell you exactly how they feel, that is a threat to what they're doing. And so if you go read the comments under that video, it seems like the majority of the people that do engage with FNT did not like her and do not want her back on the stream.
Well, she undermined their position. Like I say, it's only the hardcore people that are there, and they need bigger and bigger hits. And she was speaking against it. They don't want nuance. You know, the funny thing is, they talk about how mainstream media and so forth and the news want to sow division between sides of the country, get everybody divided so that they don't unite. We're easier to take over if they do that. And here they are. When you look at the heart of this matter and how they're ramping it up, they're just sowing division. So their own audience is dividing. People like me and plenty of others have pulled away from them. So it's like no matter how many star systems you try to hold in your grasp, more will, I don't know, from Star Wars, more will slip through your fingers.
Yeah.
I think they've got an iron grip now on their community. And hey, they're still pulling 16, 17,000 people on FNT, so I think they're holding on really hard and they're just pushing harder. And I think more and more people are going to say, "Woo, something's not right here. I'm out."
I want to share another thing here. Are you a fan of Mauler? Do you still watch Mauler's content or no?
Well, first of all, I never really did watch Mauler because that EFAPing, even a short as video or something like that is painful. I've never watched anything that goes on for hours and hours and hours like that.
Right.
I had thought from the outside that Mauler seemed to be a very nice guy, that he seemed very reasoned and informed. But now that I'm watching people dig deeper into him, I guess I only knew him at the surface level is what I'm getting at, because he seemed really good, really intelligent, and like middle of the road, but apparently he's not. So,
well, one of the big red flags I think for anybody that supported Mauler should be when he didn't correct Az on Az's. There's a clip out there with Az making some pretty big errors in his statements that Mauler would normally correct on his stream, and he doesn't say anything. And I believe it was the real BBC. So I think it was Nerdrotic, Az, Mauler, and there was a guest.
X-Ray Girl. Oh,
that's who it was. You know the clip I'm talking about then? Yeah. And once that happened, I was like, what's going on with Mauler? Well, he made this statement here, and this was this person goes, "You know what? We're not going to remember 5 years from now, Furiosa not making as much money as nerds hope. You know what we're going to remember? That it kicks all kinds of ass." And this is basically him saying it's going to become a cult classic. People are going to love it, and they're going to go back and they're going to watch it, and it's going to be something that people have responded positively to. And based on the fan reception, I think that's a pretty good guess. I think that's a pretty good statement.
Yep.
And then Mahler's goes, "That could happen, but it could also be entirely forgotten. The summer blockbuster box office seems indicative, along with other releases, of something being very wrong with the relationship between filmmakers, studios, and the audience." But that doesn't mean anything. The box office doesn't. There's a lot of movies over the years that have done poorly in the box office that go on to be cult classics, things that people love, that make a lot of money in the long term because they end up being stuff that fans are like, "That's good as shit. I should have supported it when it was out, and now I'm going to go and watch it for the rest of my life." And that happens. Mad Max itself is one of those movies where the first Mad Max, have you ever seen the first Mad Max?
Yeah, I've seen them all. Yeah.
Okay. People seem to forget that there was a very low budget Mad Max before that second Road Warrior movie came out. And if you go back and you watch that first Mad Max movie, the very first one, It is very different from the spectacular set pieces and all the stuff that we got in that second film. Moving on. But the vision is there. The core is there. And what happened is a movie that didn't necessarily break any boundaries or tear the box office apart or anything like that, became a cult classic. And then it spawned off into like this massive franchise that we have with Mad Max. I think trying to say that this movie won't be a cult classic because it didn't make money at the box office tells me that you don't fundamentally understand what a cult classic is.
And that's surprising because, again, I guess maybe it is from the outside, and someone just said, when you have an accent that people like, that you can fool people. I guess. I mean, I thought he was smarter than this. This looks like a very generic business-like statement to make. It doesn't show anything for the heart of something like something that becomes a cult classic. I mean, this is a vanilla financial statement type comment.
That second, the first line is whatever, but the second one is the one that I have the issue with. Like, something wrong with the relationship between filmmakers, studios, and the audience. George Miller has a locked-in fan base. He is a director that knows exactly what his fans like to see. The issue with this is something bigger than whatever's going on with the studios and the box office. I think the fan stuff is irrelevant here because, like Hunter is saying, I don't know you, Hunter, but I'm agreeing with you. I think that there's a strong possibility the movie will go on to continue to do really well. Like did you see the Marvels in theaters?
No. Okay.
Well, I'm guessing that you weren't interested in it probably because I know a lot of people that did not have any interest in that movie because it didn't connect. They didn't watch the shows, so they didn't want to go see a movie with a bunch of characters that were from TV shows and that kind of stuff. I get it. However, some people that still watched the shows but didn't go see the movie watched it on streaming and said, you know what, it's a fun movie. It's not groundbreaking. It's not the best superhero movie you've ever seen. It's not the greatest Marvel movie ever made, but it's a solid film. And that's because I do believe there's a big issue between the production of the movies and what happens with advertising leading into the release in theaters. But I don't think that necessarily reflects on the audience and whether or not the audience is going to like something. There is something else happening, and there's people a lot smarter than I am that work in the industry. I think there was a couple of threads on Twitter that I saw that were kind of breaking it down. And a lot of it has to do with viewing habits, the streaming services, the cost of going to the movies for a lot of people in the country right now, access to new content, because a lot of movie theaters are playing old shit. Did you see they're re-releasing like Spider-Man movies and Star Wars movies and stuff like that? Like, they're doing this to bring people in because it seems like we're seeing the effects of like the strike from last year. There's gaps in content. People were used to not getting movies. We weren't getting anything for a long time. There's a lot of issues that trying to boil it down to there's a woman in it, that's the reason it failed, seems like, I don't have a better term for it, brain rot. That's the only thing it can be for me at this point.
Yeah, there just aren't enough movies there isn't a counter argument to it because there aren't enough good movies coming out that are pulling people in by huge numbers. There's just not enough stuff out there. So $30 million or whatever that number was is not big, but it's also not $5 million. So maybe it is just the shape of the economy. Maybe it is that it just wasn't big enough to get people to, use a little bit of their leftover, whatever they've got that they can afford to spend and actually go and see something like that. Yeah. I don't know. And viewing habits is a whole other thing too. There's so much stuff available online now that you would never need to go to a movie theater.
Let me give you a good example. We've been sitting here, myself and my partner, and we're like trying to figure out what we're going to do. We're going to go to a movie. We're going to watch something at home. Is there a new show out or whatever? At the rate that movies are coming out on streaming, like, again, Fall Guy is already available on streaming right now. And it just came out the second week of this month.
Yeah.
Okay. We're sitting there and we're going, do we want to go to a theater, like leave the house, get in our car, take our asses to the movie theater to watch a movie? Or do we want to spend like $22 here at home, eat food at home, make whatever we want? We want to do 2 different meals. We want to make popcorn here, whatever we want to do, have a mixed drink or something like that. Whatever we want to do here. Do we want to do that? Or do we want to go to the theaters and deal with socializing and all that bullshit and pay for all the stuff at theaters? It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. And I think the studios need to stop doing that. Like, I'm all for like giving fans what they want, but you are training people to not go see your movies.
And the only times you're going to get them into the theater is if there's some kind of effect. It has to be something huge where the large screen, the best sound, the best theater. If it isn't something that gives you that, then why would you go when people have really good video and even good sound systems at home? I don't know what you have, but if you have something pretty large screen and pretty good sound, you don't get, if you have a fired up audience, that's the time you want to be in a theater, like one of those big Avenger movies or something. And the first
like
time,
Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine will probably get people to go to theaters.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so during COVID, I think I mentioned this on Dave's stream. During COVID, when nothing was going on, we invested in a really nice like viewing experience here in the house, because what the fuck else were we going to do? We couldn't go anywhere. Like some of the dumbest shit, like we couldn't do anything. So like nothing was available. So we basically invested in a home system. So we have a really nice setup here. We have a projector, all of that. And we did that for that reason. So as long as it's a movie that's relatively new or something that we really, really love, we can watch it here, especially if it's going to be less than a month. That's the thing. It's a flip of a coin. When I saw Fall Guy come out, I'm like, if the movie does really well the first weekend, we'll go see the movie. It wasn't one of those movies where I was ready to go, sit my ass in the theater on the first weekend. So I was like, we'll go see it. As soon as I saw that the sales were low on that first couple days, I was like, it'll be out on streaming in like 3 weeks, because that's what they're doing now. So we were like, forget it. We'll just watch it at home.
Yeah.
So they need to change that. That's one of the issues. So
they're messing up with that. It's maybe they're taking the wrong lesson out of it. I don't know. They need to do something though that makes the theater part of the experience something you've got to see.
Yeah. So speaking of Furiosa here, since we're still kind of talking about this, so this was Nerdrotic's thumbnail. Now I don't know if the chat wants. I don't know if the chat. I'll leave it to the chat. You guys, let me know. And low watermark. There is some spoilers in his review. I watched about 3 minutes or 4 minutes of it. Do you not care? Do you care about that? If so, we can skip ahead past that in the video, or like what do you?
Yeah, for myself, I don't care. I'm just looking at the down arrow and all of that.
Yeah.
The formulaic thumbnail. I love this stuff.
So we'll talk about that too. But chat, go ahead. Let me know. Do you care about any like light spoilers? There are some light spoilers in the video, and clearly there's scenes in this video that probably shouldn't be there. So let me know if you want. If not, we can just talk about the thumbnail, and I can tell you what I saw in the video, what I heard in the video. So just talk about it or watch it. I'll give the chat a chance to like. Actually, you know what? We'll do a poll. That'll be the way we do this. So you guys can vote on it, and we'll check it here in a second. Let's see. Watch the video or just talk about it, because I can tell you now, I can explain exactly what his stance is without watching it, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be more entertaining if we do it that way. All right, so chat, you can vote on it. We'll check back in a second and see. But while they're doing that, let's talk about this thumbnail. So why Furiosa flopped, I can tell you right now, there's no real reason given in the part of the video that I saw. And this statement's kind of weird. Hollywood girl bossed too close to the sun. Most people, even in Gary's space, have said that it's not a girl boss movie. So why he's using the term girl boss seems performative and clickbaity, because that's not at all who the character is. And I didn't think that, but most of the people in the space didn't think that either. So I don't know. It feels kind of weird. The flop thing with the down arrow with the fire in the background. Look, I've made videos mocking this style a few times because I think it's hilarious. I don't even, what am I looking at? What am I looking at in this thumbnail, low watermark? What is this?
Well, And normally the down arrow is, to show the financial trend or something like that. It doesn't really make sense in this particular context, but they found that the arrow works, I guess. So I don't know. I mean,
I see that arrow in every
looking
thumbnail.
It's a good looking thumbnail. I mean, Gary's production value has gone up.
I'll tell you what, like I modified this style from my current thumbnails because of the fact that it does sort of work in that space. But I try not to be as chuddy as them. I'm like, I'm gonna make them funny, but look, Blackwing Gaming says, well, at least it isn't a muscle mommy. I think he likes muscle mommies. I think there's a little bit of like his personal taste injected into those. Which is, it's weird that he makes fun of muscular women, but then he stands Gina Carano. Think about that. They have Gina Carano on all the time, and they make fun of muscular women. Like, hold on. I never even thought about this. Why the fuck is she going on streams with people that make fun of muscular women?
She's changed some of her stances lately. I mean, you probably noticed that she said things like she would be willing to go back to Disney if they offered her something. I think that's a divide now between her and that community, because frankly, that community isn't making her any money.
No,
they're using her name, but she's not getting anything out of it. So
I talked about this before. I think when she was doing all of that performative stuff on Twitter, I think there's a certain level of activism that is performative no matter where you are. Would you agree with that? I think there is like performative activism in all spaces to some degree. I think that she truly did have some of those beliefs in the beginning, but then they gassed her up and had her thinking she was going to be doing these Daily Wire movies. She was going to be making a tons of paychecks off of this. Everybody was going to support her. But the reality is nothing she has done since she left Star Wars has been supported by this community.
No. They didn't even like her Daily Wire movie, really. I mean,
no. And then she did that stupid Hunter Biden thing, which I thought was really dumb. It looked so low budget. I was like, what the fuck is this? But they didn't support that either. They haven't supported anything that she has done since Star Wars. And I made the video that I made. She blocked me, by the way, on Twitter. But I made the video where I was saying that the only time they care about her is when she's being used as a spiteful weapon against Disney. Yeah. That's the only time they care about her. And I still stand by that. I truly believe that's the reason why they bring her on to their streams and stuff. Because she goes on their streams, they're making hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars in super chats, and she's sitting there. I got a question for you. Do you think people are paid for their appearances on F&T?
No, I seriously doubt that. I think that your appearance is to get, your face in front of a new audience. It's not. I don't think that they share super chats that way.
Right. I didn't know if there was like some like we'll give you a certain percentage or whatever. Because sometimes people will super chat to ask a question to Gina Carano, and I'm like, they sent a $20 super chat for Gina. She's not going to see any of that money. That's what I always thought. Anyway. So
well, actually, I have a little something to say on that. Super chats that I give often are for the purpose of reinforcing to the stream owner, having this person on will reward you. So I give money, and I sometimes actually put in the super chat, I'm really glad to see so-and-so here on this show, blah, 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 and, make it about the guest. So that hopefully they'll invite the guest back because they got rewarded for it.
That makes sense. And from the perspective of somebody who does super chat quite often, I feel like you probably have a very good perspective on that. So that makes a lot of sense. But it does feel a little weird that she was going on there and they were not supporting any of her endeavors, which I think that was a big thing. But then also, like, for example, she would go on there to be a guest for a group of people that supposedly loved having her there. But then every other thumbnail from Nerdrotic is making fun of women with muscles.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that would be like me going over there, being a part of them in like a agreement, like I'm there in agreement with them on stuff, and every other thumbnail is anti-gay. Like it's a weird, like, what the fuck? What are we doing? All right, so the poll is over. Let's see where everybody. Actually, one more minute. One more. If you have not voted on the poll, one more minute. We're gonna decide if we're gonna watch this video. If not, I'm gonna tell you guys what the first 4 minutes of the video was. And then we'll move on to our next topic. Let's see. Mike here says, low watermark. Her family are the ones that own Caesars and El Dorado in Vegas. She's not hurting for cash. I didn't know that.
Oh, that's good.
Didn't know that. Interesting. So yeah, and up here it's like she comes from an absolutely loaded family. So that puts things in perspective. Is she still going through with the lawsuit? Is that still a thing? Do we know if that's still happening with Disney?
I haven't seen anything that it went away, but I'm glad that they've stopped talking about it because it's better to let the lawsuits go and let them, go to court and not.
Also, I wonder if they're not talking about it because it looks like she might settle outside. Because honestly, that would be the best thing to do. Would be to settle, like take a sum of money.
Yeah, I mean that's like I said, the sounds she was making, it doesn't fit their narrative. They want her to fight, but why should she spend years trying to fight a giant company if they're going to give her? I have no idea how much money's on the table, but if they pay her a few $1 million or something.
Yeah, and look, we've talked about this previously, or you haven't been on the stream, but I've talked about it previously. People seem to forget Disney is a $200 billion company. That's their net worth in the market. They have assets, they have access to money. If they wanted to pay her off, give her like $10-20 million, $25 million to have her go away for good, that's an absolute win for her, and that's going to save them a lot of headache as a company, and they would look really good in the eyes of the law and all that stuff with not with the Chud community. The Chud community will probably still go after them, but in terms of like her and having to go to court and deal with the bad press and stuff, they would look better by settling. So Xbox Gamer says, they filed a lawsuit she did with us. She wants the court to force Disney to hire her back. That's not good. I don't think that she truly wants that. I think that was when I said performative activism. I think that's one of those things. Like she said that because she would love to work with them again, but I don't think she wants to force to be like, I wouldn't want somebody to be forced to take me on as a worker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you're suing because you got fired, you kind of have to say that you want to force them to take you back, because otherwise, what do you mean? You don't want to go back there? Well, then what is this about? So yeah, of course I want to go back. And say, well, instead of taking you back, how about we give it 25 million? Oh, I really wanted to come back, but okay, I'll take the 25 million.
Look, see, I'm getting rewarded, Low Watermark. $5 here from Defunct. Hey, Eric, thanks for having Low Watermark on. Great stream. You should have them back. Yes, Low Watermark and there was like a natural like chemistry. The first time I was on stream with him, when we were over on Dave's stream, I was like, this is somebody that I want to talk to one-on-one. And I think Low Watermark, you said that also that was something that you wanted to do. And when we did our first stream together, I told you, look, you guys don't even know this. Before we went live, I was like, people love you. They want to have you back on. So I was like really happy to have Low Watermark back here. So yes, is this true? Is she dating drunk 3PO?
No.
Is that true? Okay.
No, I don't know how they actually got together. Like, now, first of all, a lot of the women love Jay. Jay is the guy who brought most of the women that are in the community in because he found them, and then they came in because of him.
Yeah.
She uses him as an assistant, bodyguard / whatever. He's a big guy. He's not going to fight or anything, but he's a big guy. So you want somebody like that if you're a woman going out in public spaces. And he does a whole lot of stuff, travels well with her, takes care of her and all of that. So that's what's going on there. There's nothing else going on.
Well, yeah, I heard rumors about that. I don't know if it's true. All right, so we're going to end the poll. Let's see where we're at. In poll. And based on 24 votes, some of you guys didn't vote, so your voice was not heard. 66% wants to watch it, 33% wants to talk about it. So I feel like that means we have to should we at least give it like a few minutes? Should we like do the first like 3 or 4 minutes of it and then
sure.
Because look, the way I look at it, guys, if we watch the video and within the first like half of it, it's not good, we'll stop watching it. But I want to give it a shot. And I'm also worried that YouTube is going to smack my hand because I think there's a lot of copyrighted stuff in it. I'm going to pitch it up a little bit and maybe that'll help. Let's see. And I think this will probably be the last thing we do, and then we'll do some Q&A with the chat. Let's see. Present, share screen. Oops. That's the wrong one. No, I don't want an Eric July video. How did that pop up there? We definitely don't want that one. I've had as much of that as I can take today. Oh, I do want to talk about the Yaira statue, though. I have a funny tweet that I really want to look at. So, all right, here we go. I'm gonna pitch this up quite a bit, honestly. All right, here we go. Playback speed. Let's see. Oh, that's too fast. I can't do 1.5. He's not a slow, like Gary's kind of quick with the way he talks, so he's not too bad.
He's well edited.
Yeah, that's true. Unlike a certain Stan Lee, Black Stan Lee that we know. All right, so here we go. This is the video. YouTube, please, I am begging you. Like, I don't want to have a video sitting in permanent like back rooms like we had to do with the last one because of this. If this happens, okay, here's the deal. If you're watching this on playback and this video is gone, we're going to talk about it after we watch the video. That way they can at least know what our thoughts are. So let's see what Gary has to say.
Who haven't subscribed yet, listen. Do you smell something? That ominous odor that's coming from Hollywood is a mixture of fear and what they just left in their pants. Why? Well, let's not bury the lead, because this may come as shocking news to all the analysts who work in Hollywood and the corporate access.
So right away, he's talking about the movie stinking, which is not the case. It's not a bad movie. So he's framing it like the movie is a turd, and that doesn't make any sense from any perspective. It's not like the fans are adamantly against this movie and it's like 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. I haven't even heard anybody really speaking out against the movie. So I don't know. Let's keep going.
Media, but it won't be shocking at all to the general audience. Furiosa is a massive flop, and not just your average garden variety flop that we're used to from Hollywood these days. It's historic, the worst Memorial Day opening in over 40 years. And Furiosa could...
Did he make a movie about Fall Guy this way? I'm asking this rhetorically. You don't have to answer because we already know the answer to it. Like, no, he didn't. He didn't make a movie about Fall Guy. And you would think that would be a big subject for them because that's a movie that had Ryan Gosling in it, who was in the biggest film of 2023. So that movie flopping based on an IP from the 80s should have been another movie or another like soundbite clip, whatever you want to call it, for them to like go against woke Hollywood. But they never even talked about it. None of them made a video about it. So here we go.
Even lose that status if it doesn't maintain its slight lead over Garfield.
So why not make a positive review about Garfield then?
Yes, positive doesn't sell though.
Think about that though. Think about it. Like, did you see the clip where Melanie Mack and Quartering were talking about why they don't make positive videos?
Yes, I did. And there's a lot of truth in there. You know, I was surprised that they actually said that. Quartering said that, you know, he tried it a few times, didn't get any views, and said, well, so much for that.
Yeah. So that's the thing is like, we already knew that. We knew that's the reason why they do it. When they cultivate a bunch of viewers that are used to going to them for their negative fix, that's going to be where your views are. It's just, that's the algorithm. We already know this. But the fact that they had a casual conversation about it and didn't edit it out of like a video.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Well, they don't hide it anymore. Any of them, you know, I mean, and they're actually fairly upfront about playing the algorithm. Even on FNT, they talk about, you know, what's good for the algorithm and all that. So,
yeah. So, so far though, this video does like, why not talk about how good Garfield is doing compared to this instead of attacking this and kind of just tossing in Garfield? I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
Which at time of recording is still up in the air, but that doesn't change the fact that after the Fall Guy bombed and the underperformance of Kingdom.
Oh my God! They mentioned the Fall Guy bombing and like
yeah.
like a 3-second moment there. Okay, I'm surprised they even brought it up. So, actually, this movie though is doing good. The Kingdom of the Planet Apes, I think, is doing really good at the box office. So, right? Is that right? I think it is.
I don't know.
Go back here.
Fall Guy bombed and the underperformance of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Underperformance? I'm gonna double check and see where it's at. Hold on. Let's see. Just checking here. Why is it not telling me how much it made? Sales. $237 million globally. How much did that movie make? Or how much did it cost to make?
Don't know.
So it's about 150 million and it's at 237.
Yeah,
and it's only been out for a couple of weeks, but it's got an uphill battle. So
yeah, that's definitely underperforming. So
But again, it'll probably make money on streaming because that's what everybody's fucking waiting for now is for these movies to come out on streaming. Have you noticed there's been movies that flop at the box office, they come out on streaming, they end up making money in the end? It's really, really weird.
Well, and we talked about people's viewing habits, so a lot of people are planning to go that way.
Yeah.
Planning on waiting.
So that's an old update. America says it's closing in on 400 million globally. So maybe it will reach that 500 million mark at the end of its run. We'll see.
Hollywood is reeling. Just 2 days before the release of Furiosa, a Mad Max saga without Mad Max, Deadline reported it was trucking to an 80 to 85 million worldwide start. Turns out that estimate was just a bit off, to the tune of between 10 or 15 million dollars the wrong way, give or take a couple of million. Combine that with a Memorial Day weekend that's performing 40% lower than it was this time last year.
So can I inject a little bit of anecdotal stuff here for a second? So I don't work in the movie industry, but I work in the entertainment industry. I've been DJing for 30 years. And this weekend, I worked Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. Every single night this weekend saw a 30% drop from last year from all of the venues that I worked at.
Huh.
So I'm not saying that it necessarily means anything concrete or whatever, but it just seems like people's spending habits are a bit more frugal now when it comes to
30% in total money or 30% in people participating?
I don't think they've specified with me with that, but I will say from my visual perspective, there wasn't a lot of people out on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And typically by time we get to Saturday and Sunday on a Memorial Day weekend, the bars are packed. This year, it was maybe half full in both bars.
Well, I mean, and it does speak to the economic reasons. I mean, this is the worst year with the inflation rates and everything. So that's interesting.
I think there is something to be said that people are being very frugal about their entertainment choices right now. So
summer, that's performing over 20% lower than it was at this time last year. And honestly, this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone after the year of the flopbuster. The streaming.
You know what's funny is, speaking of that, there are people on Twitter who are part of this like movie box office math or whatever, and they always look at the other trends like concerts and theme parks, other things that give them an idea of why people maybe aren't spending in the box office, because you have to look at all of those different things. When your entire narrative is movies are shit and that's why the box office is suffering, it actually is detrimental for you to go that extra mile to say, I looked at other forms of entertainment and I'm seeing a drop in those as well. So maybe it's not just that the movies are bad. That would be detrimental for them to do that.
Yeah.
For their brand. Anyway, let's keep going.
Collapse and the worst time strike in history, leaving the theaters with essentially holdovers minus a couple of exceptions.
I will agree with that. I do think the strike has affected what we're getting right now, because there was nothing in production for like half a year, basically.
Well, and that's too big a loss too. They can't make it up. They just need time to pass. So,
which is why most of those movies are scheduled for next year instead of this year. So.
From the worst year of writing in Hollywood's history. No, what's really got Hollywood and the corporate media analysts panties in a bunch is Furiosa is a well-received film from critics and the audience.
Yes.
And after watching Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, I would have to agree with some of that. It wasn't a bad film.
Okay, so with that being said, why is the video framed this way? Shouldn't he be making a video saying, I thought the movie was great, so let's talk about why it's not making money, instead of framing it as being a turd, which is how he framed the movie.
And why that title? All right. I mean, Girl Boss Too Close to the Sun. I mean, that's not the narrative that he's spinning here. So that the title itself is just the clickbait separate from that. And that's not what the video is about.
Right.
You have it in you to make it epic.
Furiosa, a Mad Max saga without Mad Max, is a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road.
Why does he keep saying without Mad Max? We know that he's not in the film. We've known that from the beginning. When this movie was advertised, we knew it wasn't about Mad Max.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guest starring Mad Max, played by Tom Hardy, following the film's main character, Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron, who is now played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who doesn't show up until 40 minutes into the film. The first third is following...
Right. So that's what I'm saying. The movie is like a 2-hour movie. For the first 40 to 45 minutes, it's basically like flashbacks of like, not Anna, but this other actress playing the character as a child who has no dialogue. So...
young Furiosa after she is snatched from the green place of many mothers, which includes an on-the-nose opening scene of young Furiosa grabbing an apple. But instead of being expelled from Eden, she was taken, as young Furiosa ends up in the hands of the man who murdered her mother, the warlord Dementus, played by Chris Hemsworth. Ultimately, young Furiosa goes from one tormentor to another when she is traded to Immortan Joe.
This is what I'm talking about. There's a lot of unnecessary spoilers in this review, and it's not listed as a review, and it's also not listed with spoilers.
Yeah.
So it's like if you were just watching this, you would have immediately been like, "Oh shit!" Like he's telling me the entire story behind the film. Anyway.
And the last 2/3 of this 2.5-hour film, we follow Anya Taylor-Joy's Furiosa on a mission of vengeance and trying to find her way home as she navigates the wasteland without surprisingly getting assaulted.
So the thing about it is everything he's saying here sounds like a pretty solid storyline. You know what I mean? Like this, she's taken it when she was young, passed around from warlord to warlord. This is the story. We see this in the Fury Road movie, where this is why she is the way she is. We're finally seeing it in this prequel movie. You could argue that maybe the prequel movie wasn't the best idea. I think that could be an argument that you could make. But that would also hinge on the movie not being good, which doesn't seem to be the case.
Right.
So
Protect the green place.
It's time to take the clock away.
No, the other kind of assaulted. All while the most compelling part of the Mad Max saga without Mad Max was going on, the battle for dominance between Immortan Joe and Dr. Dementus. And yes, there is a lot of good in Furiosa. Chris Hemsworth steals the show, bad fake nose aside. His two villain monologues are brilliant and a more concise form of characterization than the 2 films it took to get to know Furiosa. And here's a strange one. The world building, which I don't think you need in a Mad Max movie, was pretty good. And considering this wasn't a Mad Max movie, it was fine. And again, watching the difference in warlords between the cold and calculating Immortan Joe versus the chaos agent Dementus was fun. They're just...
So far, we're almost 4 minutes into this not review, I guess, of Furiosa. And it doesn't sound like this makes me want to go see the movie again.
Yeah, this is a good review of the movie.
Yeah. So
wasn't enough of it. As everyone has said, the action is top notch. George Miller hasn't lost a thing when it comes to directing. The gear porn was brilliant. The choppers, the motorcycles, the rigs, the cars, the ultralights. I will not question the directing prowess of George Miller. You will not see a better action film this year. I will question.
See, like, what the hell? Like,
it doesn't make any sense.
Tell me what's going through your head right now with this. I'm curious what you're thinking.
I don't believe it. I mean, it is actually kind of amazing. This is what he would say for a very good movie. And the tagline on this would be, go see this film. You'll thank me for it.
Support it because he wants to, like, if you want this kind of media, like with X-Men 97, if this is what you want, you should be the rallying cry to support someone like George Miller, who this is his vision. You've sung nothing but praises for this movie. I mean,
he wants to actually review it. It's almost like he wants to put out the good review, but he knows if he just makes a good review, that won't make the money. So he puts it under a thumbnail and under a title that makes it sound like he's gonna rip apart another movie. And you get here, and all you see is great movie, great action, great filming, great director, great. Jeez.
Yeah. All right, let's see. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop because I feel like this is as far as I watched it before we went on. And I'm like, okay, so now let's see if the other shoe drops.
His choice for protagonist. I don't think I'm going out on a limb here by saying the character of Furiosa, be it played by Charlize Theron or Anya Taylor-Joy, is going to go down in the annals of iconic pop culture character history. I think she'll be a decent footnote, and they might even mention something aside from taking screen time away from Mad Max and Fury Road. Elia Brown and Anya Taylor-Joy did a commendable job playing what is an average character.
Yeah.
There's nothing so far. It sounds like a pretty solid, like, nuanced take on the movie so far, with all the hyperbolous, like, joking aside,
character. And this is where we get to why Furiosa flopped. In this case,
okay, so prepare, like, all the good stuff that was just said. I'm waiting now to see where do you go from that. If it's just woman bad, here we go.
The answer is simpler than Hollywood and those who analyze it think. I know you know the answer already, but they're having a hard time with it. Remember, the Access Media was feeling so good about this movie, it prompted IGN to write this.
By the way, Nerdrotic, you have been on several Access Media shows now. So this idea that the Access Media is bad, I can't believe your fans are still falling for it at this point. You were on a Fox News show. which is access media.
Yeah, it's hard for him to. Street cred is being challenged here, I think.
Furiosa, why the Mad Max movies don't need Mad Max anymore. To be fair, it's been a rough month, preceded by a rough year, preceded by a rough half decade for.
Okay, so the issue now is that outlets wrote stuff that it wasn't promotion from the studio, it wasn't the movie itself, it wasn't any of that. One article in IGN. Now that's where we're at. Okay, keep going.
Anyone who works in or around Hollywood. Again, The Fall Guy, which was well received by both critics and the audience, flopped. The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which was both well received by critics and the audience, underperformed, which upset a writer from the Jimmy Fallon show enough to say this: I think it's time to accept that a large part of the movie-going public sucks. I think I could.
That sounds like a joke. That line sounds like a joke. I don't know if it is or not, but there was no other context there. It was just a joke, I think. Jimmy Fallon, a writer for Jimmy Fallon, tweeted that out. More than likely, it's a tongue-in-cheek comment. He probably does believe that there is some issue with the audience, but I think it's also no different than what Nerdrotic is doing with this video.
Yes. Yep.
So, he was on Piers Morgan. I would say Piers Morgan is less access media than Fox. Was that a fair statement? I think that Fox is probably more access media because Piers Morgan was like an after show to his actual show. But I do feel like it does lead into that. Like it leans into the access media.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw that. That was awful. All right, let's keep going here. We're almost done, actually. I'm surprised we're getting through this so quickly.
Can speak for most of the audience by saying the feeling is mutual, and keep in mind that was a WGA writer who recently went on strike for more money. Enjoy trade school, and that's.
I mean, it doesn't mean anything. Like all of them went on strike. So.
Statement is one of the biggest reasons nobody's watching Jimmy Fallon anymore and nobody's going to the movie theater. But Furiosa is a different beast because it is a good movie that's going to flop historically. That's already led to the typical Hollywood navel gaze.
Okay, here we are. We're almost 6 minutes into this, and he has not given us an answer. What is the reason it flopped? You pulled up a tweet of a writer that made a joke who has nothing to do with the film. You pulled up an article from IGN that has nothing to do with the people that made the film. Are we going to get okay, I want the chat to say this in the comments now. Are we going to get an answer from Nerdrotic on why it flopped? Are we going to actually get an answer, or is he going to just continue to spin this? What do you think, Low Watermark? Do you think we're going to get to it or not?
I don't think he's got anything. I think that he's basically, most of the stuff in the last couple of minutes is there's a downturn happening because of the past, because of the strike and all of that. So don't expect too much. But I don't see anything.
Alert, Craig, spoiler alert. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, let's see.
Yeah, let's see where he goes. I am curious. If it's just like Girls Bad, I'm going to be so frustrated.
Thing that really needs to be a come to Jesus, by all means have that. And the entire industry, along with the access media, is already starting to gather the excuses. Anything from bad timing, the recent solar eclipse, COVID, good weather.
Those are not the excuses that people are using. He's making jokes there.
Yeah,
the excuses are actually the economy and people's viewing habits, which he won't mention that because that would actually require him to do a little bit of research before he made this video. Do you think he writes his own videos, or do you think he has somebody writing them for him? What do you think?
I would think, I know he's heavily edited by other people. I think he comes up with definitely all of his own ideas. Whether somebody helps edit him a little, punch it up a little maybe, but I think he writes it and he gets help.
Well, let's see here. We're breezing through this one.
Misogynist bigots. Aside from the honorable mention of Furiosa becoming victim of something Fury Road helped create, it wasn't patient zero, but it certainly helped usher in the bait and switch the male protagonist for a female protagonist girl boss era of Hollywood, an era that has destroyed the female protagonist more than any real
So that's the answer.
Female
a bait and switch, and bait and switch to a female protagonist.
Just because they had a Mad Max movie. I mean, it's a franchise, so they wanted to label the movie a Mad Max type thing because they want people to know.
This is a bait and switch in the other way, though, because this is a Furiosa movie, and Chris Hemsworth is arguably the most important character in the movie.
Yeah.
But so wouldn't that mean that that's the issue with this, is that it was advertised as Furiosa and Chris Hemsworth is the lead? I mean, I
don't know.
Yeah, let's go.
Misogynist could dream of. To borrow a phrase from the criminally undersubbed It's a Gundam, Hollywood girl boss too close to the sun. And maybe it hurt.
Somebody said that in the chat. So 5 points to you. 5 imaginary points to you. So
film that didn't have a girl boss. Furiosa. But that's not why it failed. So why did Furiosa flop? It's an
Wait, so that wasn't the answer. So what's the answer? Fuck, get to it. Like,
enigma wrapped in a mystery inside a conundrum. Well, it
well, I realize it's 8:03, so he basically did it just enough to get the double ads in it. It's 8 minutes and 3 seconds. So, because you get double ads at 8 minutes, so that's why.
turns out Mad Max does need to be in the Mad Max film, and he needs to be played by Mel Gibson. Hollywood simply isn't giving people what they want, and when they do, it's successful. You put Tobey Maguire in a Spider-Man movie, and it makes $2 billion.
So, the movie was never advertised as a Mad Max movie, though. You know what I mean? Like, it would be different if this was another situation where it was like Mad Max something, and then it was a story about Furiosa. This was always advertised as Furiosa.
Furiosa, yeah. Yeah, or like what they did with the last Terminator movie or something where,
Right.
you know, yeah, this doesn't fit that unless he's got more.
Yeah, let's see. We got a minute left. Let's get through it. We can do it, and then we can talk about a certain statue and people breaking their bank to buy it.
How'd that get in there?
Deadpool and Wolverine isn't out for 2 months, and it's already made $10 million. You mean to tell me if you put two iconic actors in their iconic roles in proper costumes and put them in a movie together, people want to see it? Someone should have thought of that sooner. Nah.
So you're arguing for a movie that this movie never was. Like,
yeah.
There's an argument that maybe people want to see Mel Gibson come back. You know what I mean? As Mad Max. There's an argument to be made there, but this was never that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody was seeing this as a bait and switch. Nobody was expecting. These guys were saying, wouldn't it be great? And somebody put together, you know, a fake thumbnail, you know, for Mel Gibson as an older man coming back.
Yeah.
But that was never this. So this is shoehorning an answer in after the fact is what this is.
Yeah, because we're gonna watch this last little bit. I don't think we're gonna get much more out of it, but like I have an issue with this. I watch a lot of like reality competition shows, and so a lot of them have to do with art and stuff like that. So there's a couple of them like with tattoo artists and stuff like that. Have you ever heard of Ink Master, the show Ink Master? It's like a tattoo show. Yeah. So a lot of times they'll go, I would really like your tattoo if it were this instead, and you did this color instead, and then you did this shape instead, and then you did this technique instead. And once you go that far, you're asking for something that's not what that is. So like they're asking for a movie about an older Mad Max, but that's never what this movie was going to be. Like they're not addressing the issues with this movie specifically. So all right, let's finish this up.
It's a way better idea to recast a side character that no one cared about from an underperforming film and put her in her own movie with a bigger budget. What could go wrong? Turns out everything. As much as I liked Furiosa, the Mad Max saga, it would have been better if Mad Max was in the Mad Max saga.
Why? You like the movie. You literally have very few complaints about it. How would the movie have been elevated by shoehorning Mad Max into the Furiosa story?
It just makes sense. I don't know where he's getting this from.
By Mel Gibson. And in closing, I would like you all to internalize this absolute fact. There are only 3 Mad Max films.
Nerdrotic.com.
Yeah, okay.
This is like the Miles Morales stuff? Is that what this is all about again? So
could be.
Okay, we're going to end the stream here in a moment. Sorry, I know you guys are having a good time. Thank you so much for being here. We've had between 50 and 70 people in the chat pretty much the entire time. So thank you guys so much for being here. This makes it all worth it. Fallen Gemini says, what the fuck is Nerdrotic talking about? Harrison Ford is indie and the newest indie film didn't do right. Like, look, like this is a good point.
An older indie didn't save that movie, did he?
Right. But for some reason, an older Mel Gibson would save a Furiosa movie. Even though he said like, and the thing is that this Indiana Jones is a movie that suffered from like quality issues. Whereas with Furiosa, he's like, no, it's a great movie, but still we should shoehorn Mad Max into it.
And the movie seems flawless from his explanation. It actually seems flawless.
Oh my God. Look, Blackwing says I lost brain cells. Yeah. Christian says that's exactly what Gen Z and Alpha will see. 70, 80-year-old guys trying to die while jumping and fighting monsters and bad guys. I mean, look, if he would have argued about something with the advertising of the movie or something to do with the quality of the movie, I would have heard him out, even though I don't agree with Gary most of the time. But he literally was campaigning for a different film. Like he was just asking for a different movie.
He has to be basing it entirely on a Mad Max saga, as if people thought, oh, Mad Max means Mel Gibson's going to be in it. But I don't think anybody thought that. So they needed the tagline because they needed to relate it to the franchise. So they had to mention it.
All right, so we have one more thing to talk about, and then we're going to do some chat with we'll chat with the chat for a minute, and then we'll wrap everything up, I guess. And so all right, this is what I want to share. I saw this and I was completely blown away by this low watermark.
I think I know what you're going to show.
This right here,
the fundraiser one,
a GoFundMe.
Yes.
To buy the Yaira statue that Eric paid Todd McFarlane to make.
Unbelievable. I mean, people are roasting this, of course, and Dick is in there and others are in here too, I believe. Everybody's saying, you people are crazy. What the hell are you doing? You're gonna go out and have people do a GoFundMe for you so you can buy a $500 statue. Why should anybody help you buy that statue? I don't get that.
Okay, so let's read what he says here. Okay. All right, people, I did it. Thanks to Student of God for giving me the push. The Student of God told this person to humiliate themselves outside of their echo chamber by doing one of the dumbest things ever. This is the start of my quest for the new Yaira. Look, by the way, this isn't a flex for a creator. Like, I would not want someone doing this for anything that I'm making. Do not do this to yourself for any of that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not worth it. This is the start of my quest for the new Yaira statue. If this GoFundMe passes my goal, I plan on helping other Rippaverse fans to acquire this piece of art. Please tell me how that accountability is going to work, right? Please tell me how that's going to work, because if he makes, because the statue's 500, so if his GoFundMe, we're going to look at it in a second. I want to see if he surpassed his goal, but if he does, please explain to me how he's going to be held accountable for reinvesting that money. Is he going to give it like $10 to every other person who does a GoFundMe? Is he going to pass the money out between all the fans of the Rippaverse? How is that going to benefit anybody else?
Nope. This is insane. I can't wait to see this.
I could not believe this. I could not believe this. I'm going to click on the GoFundMe. I'm going to bring that down because I want to give everybody some anticipation on it. So the statue is $500. Which, by the way, I don't know this for sure. But some people, because I don't collect a lot of statues. I have some, like I have this Flash one here and I have a few in the other room. I don't collect a lot of statues. I like wall art more. But some people were saying that statues at this scale do not run $500, not even for the most popular characters. Have you looked into that at all?
No, but Ethan said when he first found out about the statue, who was producing it and all that, he said, yeah, $500 is fair for that. So he was actually positive.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because of the nature of the statue, like, because I don't think this is like a collaboration. I know Eric keeps saying that, but I looked on the website. It's not a collaboration. I think Eric had to buy into getting these statues made because he has a minimum order requirement. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
500 is the minimum, which means they only get made if he gets 500 orders.
Which
So,
apparently he already paid for like he normally does. So he did his 500 order. He paid the whatever. People are speculating maybe it cost him 100 or something per. And apparently he's already sold enough to get his money back. So if that price is right, then he actually succeeded here. He didn't lose money maybe.
yeah. So right here saying that I can tell you it's how it's constructed. If I can give you a paragraph real quickly explaining why one statue is 300 plus and the other is 100 plus. I mean, if you want to, I don't want you to like break your fingers like explaining it. But some people were saying a 1/6 scale statue should be less than 300. But I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. I believe it's a McFarlane, so it's probably going to be resin. I think there's a resin statues. At least they used to be. I don't know if they still are. So you're telling me that he's already basically put himself in the hole by buying
that's what people were assuming on Twitter, that he had already ordered them so that they would be ready to go. He had a 500 minimum. He paid whatever the amount is, and apparently he sold a crap ton of them already. So,
well, we'll see. Let me check something here. GoFundMe. Here we go. All right, so it looks like this person has actually succeeded in getting their Yaira. He had enough people tip him to buy the statue. He had an anonymous donation of $200. Okay. Oh, wait, there's an anonymous for 300. So 2 people funded this for him, basically. There's an anonymous for 300. There's an anonymous for 200. And then there's 10, 60, and 20.
Well, Eric has people with deep pockets, and maybe they saw this and thought, gee, maybe this is a good thing to show Twitter. Look how
Is it
supportive
though?
the community is.
I mean, I feel
No, I
like
know, in a
this
twisted
looks like
way.
desperation to me. Like this is really. By the way, I can't believe I didn't even pull this up. Apparently, you can go into debt buying Ripaverse merch because he's going to allow people to do credit, like buy things with credit, like the Afterpay stuff where it's not even a credit card. Basically, you buy something and then every week you have to pay on it with Afterpay, which means he's going to put people in a position where they could buy the $500 get everything package or whatever, and they're paying $100 a week. And hopefully they're able to do that, because if not, you get hit with a massive, like you have to pay all of it off at the same time if you miss a payment.
Yeah, I saw that he was asking which of those plans did people use. So I guess he was researching it at one point. I hadn't heard that he had decided to do it.
Yeah, he said he's trying to figure out which ones people use the most. Look, you don't even have to. Like, all you have to do is implement those services. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't think there's any issue with like just adding them on as a payment. Like if I go to buy something from anywhere online, usually it gives you an option of like 10 different things. So just add it as an option. Yeah. Basically, the super expensive ones are wax sculptures. They press into a mold, then press to form a statue. They have an actual artist and hand paint. The cheap ones are made in Blender. Oh, the 3D modeling program, soaked in chemical bath and hardened the resin, then they're painted on assembly line. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
It wouldn't surprise me if Eric went for the cheaper one, but he's billing it as if it's an expensive one. You know, I mean, that's his character.
I mean, it is. It totally is. Let me turn off the banner here. Yeah, so the thing is that look, these guys are good at getting people to throw money at them. They are. I've said before that the one thing about Eric is if there's anything that Eric is good at, it is convincing a bunch of people to listen to him like he's the smartest guy in the room. That's probably his biggest talent. To be completely honest. I forgot this. I had this open in the other tab. Let me make sure I have the video open though. Let's see. Did I have it saved? I thought I had it saved. Oh, did you see the drama about Richard Dreyfuss? You see that online?
No.
He was at a where's it at here? It says Richard Dreyfuss takes stage at Massachusetts Jaws screening. Apparently they're doing a special screening of Jaws. By the way, great movie, classic. Yeah. Wearing a dress dressed up as a trans person, delivering a rant against trans people at the screening for Jaws.
What?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a smart move.
No, it's like he showed up, claimed he was trans, dressed in a dress and a wig and everything. He starts going on a rant against trans people to the point where people left. Like they left the entire screening. They just, because it wasn't even like whether you agree or disagree. It's just like, what the fuck? What is he doing? That
is weird.
Very weird.
I mean, he got a stage basically because of the movie he was in, and so he chooses to exploit it that way.
Yeah,
that seems like a really bad move, and that's going to get him a lot. Might bring you a little heat. Yeah, it might bring you a little heat.
I just don't understand why you would pick that time to do that.
Well, like I said, how many stages does he get in front of people?
Yeah, so weird. You know what? I've said this before, and I actually, you know what? This brings up a pretty good topic, and maybe you have some thoughts on this, because I'm almost 50, and you're older than I am, correct, Low Watermark?
Yes.
Okay. So I've said this plenty of times. If the internet existed the way it does right now, like this, where we can do podcasts, we can interact on, Twitter or Facebook or wherever it is that people are interacting at. If this existed like 30 or 40 years ago, a lot of the actors that we are like, they're not activists. They don't say dumb shit. They were just there to do their job. If this stuff was available like 40 years ago, I bet a lot of people that we look at, like Richard Dreyfuss, were like, they're great people. They don't do any dumb shit and embarrass themselves. I bet you they would have 40 years ago if social media was a thing back then like it is now.
Well, a lot of them did in the smaller way when they would go on something like The Tonight Show or other shows where they actually had to talk and not be scripted. It's not a red carpet. It's not a movie or TV show. And they get occasionally asked questions that they can't answer. And some of them look dumb as can be. Or maybe they looked crazy. Or remember the few people that spouted off at either in an Oscar speech or whatever, and people looked at them sideways and said, ooh, That's what that person's really about.
Yeah,
So
that's
a
true.
few of them did it, but they rarely got the stage to do it.
Yeah, that's true. Like defunct, absolutely. But you're right, low watermark. I've said that before to other people that like I have seen old clips from interviews with actors who people are like, they're not woke or they're not anti-woke. And I'm just like, have you seen these clips of them from like when they were kind of just hanging out and doing interviews? And they seem to be just all over YouTube. You just have to search for them, but they're really weird. This was something I put in the title and I completely forgot. Remember, we were going to talk about the Bryce Mitchell clip. It's a 2-minute clip. And since we're already over the 2-hour mark, I figure we might as well just go ahead and take a look at it. So this is one that I think is going to be quite interesting. It's not really in my normal content, so I wouldn't really make a video about this, but I feel like these live streams are the perfect place to talk about stuff that you wouldn't just make separate videos about. So this is an MMA fighter, Bryce Mitchell, who I found out has like, he's been on podcasts or he has a podcast. So he's very outspoken, but this is kind of a candid clip where he recorded it on a phone and uploaded it to his probably TikTok or Instagram or something like that, where he talks about homeschooling. And I wish I could speed this up because even though it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I'm wondering how quickly we're going to get through this. But I feel like he might not say enough stuff to debunk. So let's just kind of listen to what he has to say and then we'll talk about it. And you guys in the chat, let me know what you think about this.
Hey, I want to show y'all Tucker James. He's over 12 pounds now. He was born at 7.8 pounds. So he's very healthy. He's doing very good. I wanted to encourage y'all not to vaccinate your children because I think it's bad for their health. Could potentially kill them, give them some type of make them.
Is there a noise in the background of this video? Do you hear that?
I wasn't sure if it was a dog or a motor. It's a strange sound.
Yeah, it's like, what is that noise in the background? Anyway, he starts out telling people not to vaccinate their kids. Okay, whatever. By the way, is he just wearing boxer shorts in this video? What the fuck is going on here? I mean, he's an MMA fighter, so I guess he's used to like wearing, you know, not having a shirt on and stuff. So Defunct says dog. But let's see where he goes with it. So don't he says like, don't vaccinate your kids. By the way, I just said that, so they're probably going to put a fucking tag on my video. Oh, great. Here we go.
Autistic. I mean, seriously, these vaccines are poisonous. So don't vaccinate your kids. Tucker's also going to be homeschooled. We're going to have to homeschool our kids or they're all going to end up turning gay. You know, and that's the reason.
Okay. I didn't know that that's how that happened. Jeez,
I mean,
Eric,
low
you didn't tell
watermark.
me that's how that happens. I expected this information.
I'm sorry. Like I'm supposed to be like the person to tell people this. The stupidity, like it went from like, okay, you know, I'm going to talk about this vax thing because it's kind of that's the hot topic on social media, to going to like, I'm going to homeschool my kids because of this whole gay thing. They don't want them to be gay. I don't have anything. I don't know what to say about that. It's just so stupid. Well, it's so fucking stupid.
It is almost like he's conflated how supposedly there's indoctrination going on in schools, in the school system now, whether you believe that or not, whether you like what's in the library or not. But he's extracting that to say, because you're teaching people earlier about some things, they're going to become the thing.
Right.
Right. So there's almost, sadly, there's a level of ignorance in here that concerns me, that he heard the message and applied it to, but if my son goes there, he's going to become gay.
Yeah.
No.
But I actually think, low watermark, that the stupidity of his stance comes from listening to people who are trying to clout farm. Like that's literally what this comes from. Like, I'm not saying he's not responsible for it. He's got a massive platform, so it is kind of an issue, but I do believe that he's been listening to people that he thinks they're super smart, but he is so stupid that he doesn't realize that they're just grifting media. You know what I mean? And America here says Eric was straight until his parents sent him to public school. It's a private shame he hides from everyone. I know, absolutely. Yeah, too funny. All right, let's see. Like I had to pause it there, but I don't think I've watched this whole thing. So let's see. Let's see how this spirals.
Reason that I'm going to homeschool Tuckers, because I don't want him to be a communist. I don't want him to worship Satan. I don't want him to be gay. I'm going to have to homeschool him.
Whoa.
The communist thing, if you want to go indoctrination and so forth, you know, you might be taught that, you know, capitalism is bad or whatever, because there's a certain amount of that type of talk going on. You know, the country sucks, capitalism is
I mean, you're more
bad.
than likely going to hear about the political stuff than any of the other stuff from school.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like you could argue that you don't like the political stuff that's being taught in school, so you want to teach them something different. I get that. I understand that. But the Satanism and the gay thing, like that's like, what are we talking? Like, that's so far off the beaten path. I don't even know. All right, that's why even the comments about communism, am I supposed to believe that he really understands why that would be a thing, or is he just saying it because other people have said it?
Yeah, he's listened to whoever he listens to have filled his head with these things. So
There we go.
Now, look, guys, out of the public schools, they've took the most valuable book of all time, which is the #1 selling book of all time. The oldest, most accurate historical document that there ever was, the Bible.
You don't have to hype it up. I think everybody knew exactly what you were talking about when you said
we
it.
knew where you were going.
Okay, so we've never talked about this. Are you a super religious person, Low Watermark?
No,
Are you okay?
No, not at all. I mean, I was raised Catholic, but I have a little bit of spirituality, but I'm not into religion at all. And
isn't it weird that he's like, I don't want my kid going to school because I don't want them to be indoctrinated, but I want a book in school that would lead to indoctrination. Like, yes,
a different type of indoctrination.
If you want to take your kid to church and that's what you want to do, have at it. But don't say I want my kids out of public schools because they could become Satanists, but I'm totally okay with indoctrinating other kids with Christianity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. I mean, you can send somebody to a private school that's a church. Like, they have private schools that are religious private schools. You could literally just send them there.
Yeah.
So Meister says homeschool is very good for some people, and I have problems with public school, but there's a push from certain politicians to keep the population dumb. I don't have an inherent issue with homeschooling. Like, I don't think there's a problem with homeschooling at all. Like, I don't think there's an issue with private schools. I mean, public schools, you could argue, depending on where you are. Like, I think South Carolina has a really bad public school system, but I know, like, public schools, depending on where you are in your state, are going to change from place to place, and you just hopefully have a good one, or if you don't, you can send your kid to programs or things like that to help them out. But I'm not inherently against homeschooling. I don't think homeschooling is bad, but I'm thinking his reasons for homeschooling or is the issue that I have. Like, I'm like, do you think keeping your kid at home, Low Watermark, we talked about this briefly before we went live, and you said that you believe that keeping a kid away from this kind of stuff is just going to make them want to know about it even more. Is that your stance?
Well, it's not so much want to know about it, but when they get introduced to it, it's going to blow their minds because they never heard about it before. I remember the first time that I got away from home and saw things that I had never seen before, and my mind was blown. And I just, went deep into it and, couldn't help myself because this is not something that I had experienced before. So I don't hide things from your kids, make them aware of all kinds of things, but then explain to them where, from your moral perspective, where you think it applies. But don't ever tell your kids no, and don't hide something from them, because when they find it, they're going to dig into it. So, geez, that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. We're only 1 minute into this 30-second clip. Like, I have no idea where this is going to go. Okay. This is exciting. I didn't watch the rest of this. So
they took it out of the schools and they replaced it with Edgar Allan Poe, who's shacked up with his cousin.
Edgar Allan Poe's always been in the school library. Like, what are we?
Always.
They didn't replace.
The Raven.
Yeah, they didn't replace it with that. Okay.
Okay, my son ain't gonna be reading no Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, he's gonna be reading the Bible. That's just how it is, and I'm just telling you, if you don't teach your kid these things, he's gonna be fed right to the devil. Okay, so we're not gonna let that happen here. And actually, when I was at the hospital, they said since I didn't want to do a PKU, which is where they draw blood from the kid, they poke them with the needle and draw their blood and then test their blood. I didn't want to do that. And I told them, I'm not doing a PKU. None of that's going to happen. You're not.
What are we thinking right now about this guy? Like, just in general?
I don't like what I'm thinking because I don't want to be uncharitable.
Yeah. I mean, he just doesn't sound very smart, right? I mean, he seems really stupid.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be blunt about it. Like, defunct. I don't know, Willow Watermark. Do right-wing guys not wear pants when recording videos these days? Is that a thing in the right-wing community? I don't know.
Well, and the thing is, what bothers me, because I'm, I'm not extreme bright.
No,
but
I feel
am
like you have a
right.
better perspective on it than I do, which is why I'm
Well,
jokingly asking you.
What
so.
always bothers me is all these people give us a bad name.
Yeah.
Right? All the people who are too extreme, people in the fellowship give us a bad name. People like this give us a bad name. I mean, why do they always have to sound like this? You don't want blood drawn. Drawing blood from a kid isn't going to hurt them. I mean, I'm not talking about physical pain, but it's not like the other thing he said, don't give the kid.
He's an MMA fighter. He's bloodied up every single night that he's out there fighting.
And he needs all kinds of medical help all the time too. And
yeah, I'm sure he's been stuck with needles plenty of times.
I don't get it. I don't.
Okay, let's see.
Sticking this kid with a needle. Then they told me that the DHS was going to come and investigate me, had rights to take the kid, all of this. They threatened me with violence from the government, basically.
No, it sounds to me like they're concerned about the safety of the kid because you're crazy.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me. Like, and then, oh my God, I just thought about this. Like, so they told him that DHS would be coming to visit if he didn't allow them to do things they're supposed to do with babies. And so he makes a video saying all of this stuff that makes him sound unfit as a parent.
Yeah.
And post it on social media. And it's gone viral.
Oh, man.
So Brett says, I get low watermark is saying, I feel bad for people who just want lower taxes flying the Republican flag. Yeah, I mean, like, how did we get to this point where, like, this clout stuff is sent people off the deep end? It really just...
Well, and this is the type of guy, along with the handful of people that go to rallies in a bad way, that give more ammunition to people who speak against conservatives because they think everybody is redneck, racist, white supremacist, blah, 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 on it, the whole list of things.
Right.
And that all of them are. Everybody that isn't far left is all of those things because of people like this. If these are the people that are getting the attention, none of us look good. America doesn't look good. All right.
Yeah.
This is bad for America.
So Danimal, I'm just going to take your word for it because I'm not a medical person, but PKU isn't the most common thing, but it happens enough that it should be it probably should be tested because it's super treatable at birth and it untreated can cause irreparable damage to the kid's brain, which is probably why they said something about DHS. Most likely. All right, here we go.
Now they said, what do you think about that? And I said, well, that's all right. I'll be dead. They said, what? I said, you heard me. I said, I'll be dead. It will be a cold day in hell. When
Does he mean he's going to fight?
Well, I mean, it depends on how they take it, right? Does that mean he's going to do something to himself? Is he going to fight them with weapons?
Not a good thing to put in when you've got a baby in your arms and making a video that is going to be put in your file.
This is... All right.
Somebody comes try to take this baby from me. You understand what I'm saying? I don't care if it's DHS, FBI, CIA. I will be dead before it.
Why would the FBI and the CIA come to take your baby away? I don't
know. That's just more of the story, the government trying to get into all your stuff, taking everything over, taking away all your rights, yada, yada.
Well, the thing is that he said that to us here in this video, but we don't know if that's what he said to the people that were saying this to him.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So when he was talking to them, he could have said, I'll be dead. And they have no idea what that means. He's explaining it here, but they may not know. All right. Here. Right. See, that's the thing. That's why I was like, there's a possibility that they could have taken it that way, depending on how much he said to them. We're almost done with this roller coaster ride. Let's wrap up this journey.
Anybody lays a finger on this child without my consent. And so that's the kind of passion it's going to take from parents.
And look, I generally do not have an issue with that. I think if parents are defending their child, it's absolutely valid in most cases. But I think this is one of those extreme cases where the overreaction was completely unnecessary.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, there you go.
And if you're not ready to do that, to go to that extent to protect your child, you shouldn't have a child, because I will die for this child. And I'm going to ensure he has the best life that he can. And That's all.
The baby heard what he said and like was like, no, this is not what I want. This is not what I want.
All I have to say.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that was not actually what I was expecting. I honestly was like, oh, he said like, he said going to homeschool doesn't make you gay, and that's the interesting thing. But no, that wasn't the most interesting thing about that clip. That was a ride.
Yeah.
To be honest. Yeah, look, Defunct said here, he's digging that hole deeper and deeper. Yeah, I mean, the problem is that video's out there now, and I've seen it clipped everywhere. So there's no putting the cat back in the bag when it comes to that. Summer says, "How do these people find someone to marry and have kids with?" I mean, it's a valid question. Okay, so I'm looking through my bookmarks here. I don't have a ton left to discuss. So chat, is there anything you'd like to talk about? Any questions you have for us before we wrap things up here? Actually, I do have a tweet I want to bring up. So you guys can ask some questions. Well, I'm asking this question. Of course, you're familiar with Vito. So Vito posted this, and I was kind of shocked that he was asking this question unironically. So Joel Berry here goes Libertarian Party, how it started. It shows obviously Mel Gibson, and how it ended with some random like pride event, I guess. And then Vito goes, I thought libertarians were about personal freedom. Why would they hate gay shit? And I'm like, Vito, is this a serious question? The Libertarian Party is the most unpredictable party when it comes to like anything anymore. I mean, look at Eric July. It's like they do have their core values, but it's all over the place. Like I've seen them, some of them hate women, some of them don't like trans people, some of them don't like gay people, some are racist. It just seems like that party is tell me if I'm wrong. I really want to know. I don't know anymore what libertarians as a group believe in, because it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense most of the time.
Well, I took this as Vito actually being upfront and meaning it, because the big takeaway of libertarians is my freedom. Leave me alone to do my stuff. I'll do what I have to do, but leave me alone. So I think he's being totally serious, saying, so why would they hate anything? But you put anything in there.
I mean, that makes sense. But I mean, like I've asked this question before, and my answers have always been like, it's not the same thing. Or like with Eric July, when he talked about this, he's talked about it when he's done his like videos about pride events before, and he's been like, oh, well, they shouldn't be able to do this. And I'm like, but don't you believe in individual freedoms? Like, I don't. That's why it kind of doesn't. I guess for me, it doesn't shock me because I've heard this come from libertarians in the past. So maybe Vito is being genuine here. But I mean, I've heard different responses from the libertarians that I know when it comes to this kind of stuff. So
yeah, their freedoms, nobody else's freedoms.
Right. What's up, Salty? How are you doing? Good to see you. He says they prefer to be called LOL libertarians now. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Well, that was my thing. Is I was hoping that was kind of where he was going. He could be genuine though. He could be asking genuinely. I know a lot of people have said that he's an engagement whore. I'm not going to discredit that. Vito does a lot of stuff for engagement. But yeah, I don't. This is such a weird thing because we have found, at least in elections across the country, this diversity stuff, whether you believe in it with the culture war stuff or whatever, it doesn't win races for these people. Like it doesn't. Like it isn't it's a fringe thing that doesn't put asses in the voting booth for you. And so that's why a lot of people have dropped doing it, because it just seems like a pointless thing. There's other issues you could argue about. So it's just kind of weird that libertarians are still talking about this, because I think most of the Republican like groups that I've seen campaigning aren't really doing this anymore. It's a little weird. Anyway, it's kind of the last thing that I was like dead set on talking about here. Let's see. Craig says, I think libertarian just means any person who doesn't want to pay taxes. That's it. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think that people that fit into the small L libertarian probably are. Less government, no taxes, taxes are theft. That whole line is the big umbrella that everybody would be under.
All right. Danimal says, I will die for this child. I just want to allow routine medical procedures to be performed on my kid that will prevent severe illness or death. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much. Let's see. There are some. Well, see, the thing is, Ace of Card, that's on the other podcasts that I do with the Showcast community. We all do the weekly podcast, which we're not doing this week. But normally it's weekly. We looked up like basic libertarian ideology, and most of it is very much like not infringing on people's personal rights. So most of them are accepting because they're not trying to tell other people what to do. So that's why I'm a little bit confused. But I see a comment up here. Where is it at? From America's. It's because libertarians are faction based. True. So anarcho-libs are not the same as Mez's-libs, but the numbers are so small, they kind of all end up in one huddle, which is probably why they can't gain any ground, right? Would you say that's probably why the Libertarian Party in general has a hard time winning major elections, is because they're so fragmented, I guess is...
Well, and the problem is an awful lot of libertarians are small L libertarians, and they don't believe in the central party anyway. So you already have a huge chunk of them not participating in anything central. So yeah, they're doomed. They're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, sucks pretty much. I don't see if there's anything else. We're already over the 2 hour mark, so I was going to see if there's anything else worth checking out. What do you think? Okay, so Yaira's getting shipped out tomorrow. I think Eric made a video talking about how the artwork. Did you see the video where he talked about the artwork, about Yaira's artwork or whatever?
No, so he made a recent one talking about the new artwork. Yeah,
it's on Katie. Let me see if Katie did has a quick clip, because I'm not trying to watch a long video from Eric. Let's see, please, Katie did, which she probably went to bed. It's 2:30 my time. Okay, so there's a 4-minute clip where he talks about it, and I think we can get through this in probably less than 10 minutes, because he's just talking about her work. But there's an interesting thing in this clip that when I heard it, I was like, but I thought that wasn't the case. And we'll see if you catch it as well, because I'll pull it up here. Let's see. Add to stage. All right, so this says Deborah's best work, and this is Deborah Carreta, who did the art. Which, by the way, she's not. I don't really like her work, but let's see what he says here. Let's actually pitch this up. Playback speed 1.25, because unlike Gary, Eric is very he has pauses a lot. So
plodding. He's very plodding.
It's a good word. Here we go.
But it's at $1.561 million. We're closing in on what is it? 18,000 books sold or 19? I can't remember. Something over there. Look at these interiors by Deborah. And this is the cool thing, right? Campaign's going to end. And then we're going into tomorrow as well as Tuesday, because tomorrow is technically a holiday. So some of the carriers are not going to be moving product. So Tuesday, we'll have thousands of orders going out. That's the fun thing. Campaign ends. Bam. Where's my material? We start getting the shit out immediately.
You know what's funny? And I probably mentioned this before. I don't know if I've said this to you or not, but he acts like the act of getting the comic book from one place to another is the problem.
Yes, it's the biggest problem in the industry. It's got to be timely and it's got to be shipped. And nobody ships better than Eric ships.
From what I understand, when it comes to independent comics, and Salty in the chat, you can sound off on this. Which, by the way, we have to get Salty on here one night as well. Maybe we'll do a stream with everybody. But usually delays in comic books have nothing to do with the shipping. It has to do with the production of the comic.
Right.
Getting it made and getting it sent out. So yeah, Salty, making the comic is the easy part. Didn't you know? I mean, I guess if you're paying people to basically make the comic book for you. But yeah, he acts like he acts like UPS, FedEx, all of these other companies that ship, for a living, that there's an issue from getting a comic book from your shipping, like your warehouse, wherever you're shipping from, to somebody's house. That's the issue, which I've never heard that as being the problem. I've never heard that as being the issue.
At best, you can say that some people who produce comics don't like to do the grunt work of packaging them and taking.
He loves it.
You know, he loves it. Yes,
Eric
he seems to be
loves
happiest
shipping.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he should be just a shipping in general. Like maybe Ripasim will end up just being a shipping service that people use. I don't know.
Well, you know, and everybody's been saying that, you know, produce an energy drink, produce something that ships on a regular schedule. This guy would love to run that warehouse business and probably clean up doing it if he was selling something renewable that he could ship constantly.
As passionate as he is about shipping, low watermark, I think that would be great for him.
Yeah, it would. And he'd be happier.
Really?
Yeah.
So almost 19,000. Shout out Bruce for the update.
Bruce might as well work for Eric at this point. He is you know who I'm talking about, right? Bruce, the guy who's like always around Eric. Have you seen this guy?
No.
He's always in Eric's streams. Oh. He is a huge supporter of Eric. Everything from like you know, on Twitter to buying everything that he makes, just massive supporter. He's always around. I feel like he should just work for Eric at this point. I mean, he's literally that involved with the Ripaverse. He's one paycheck away from being an employee, basically. All right, let's go.
At the end of the stream, do we hit 19,000 books sold? We will see. But head over to riververse.com. Look at this interior. These interiors is Deborah's best work ever. Can't congratulate her enough. We watched her take it to a different level. That's thanks to her, but also thanks to my man's Kanan White.
Okay, so that's the part I want to pause on. So I've got a couple issues with that. Number one is Deborah is not a brand new artist. She's not somebody that's fresh out of art school. She's been doing comics for a while now. And whether you like her work or not, she's been in the industry. So it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird for Eric to act as if she needed a art coach to come in and help her put out her best work ever.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. And Ethan debunked that right from the beginning. Nobody comes in and changes the way somebody else's draws, especially somebody, like you said, that isn't brand new at this. Her early work were in those samples that were in the back of, what was it, ISOM 2 or something like that, or Alpha, I don't remember which one, where there were couple sample pages.
Right.
Bringing in an editor or a consultant, an art director, whatever he is, he changed the way she drew? What did he say? Hold the pencil differently? How would he change what she did? Her talent level is her talent level. Now, maybe you could say, oh, she didn't put much into those first ones. Eric wanted them too fast. She just threw something together. Maybe. And say, oh, well, maybe he said, you know what, you got to buckle down. You got to start working harder. And maybe if she works harder, her art gets better. Who knows? But that's the only out I see. Her talent did not improve because somebody else is getting a paycheck. It can't.
I mean, low watermark. The other thing is, it would be different if he was inking, like if he was going in and finishing it with inks or something like that to make it a little more dynamic. But if he didn't actually redraw anything, you're right. How did he change her artwork? And Saltier says, like Kanan White not going, doing a book for Rip versus Criminal. He's clearly, in my opinion, the best artist that they have access to regularly, and he's just a coach.
I can't wait to see Ethan actually look at it because he has the ability to pick out who's drawing what based on their styles. I can't see anything in the drawing, so I don't know.
Salty goes, he does draw over and then she redraws what he draws over. Absolutely right. I do believe that's what we're seeing.
Stuff.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's continue here.
We came in, we brought him on as an art director. We had a lot of books going at the same time. ISOM 3 was going, Will Conrad's Gooding, the Polymath was going, Horseman was going, Yaira was going, and as the absolute professional that he is, he comes in and he says, all right, there's a lot of shit that needs to get done.
Well, that sounds to me like there was some serious issues with quality control.
Well, I mean, and we all kind of think that's what happened with all of this, that nobody that knew what they were talking about was reviewing any of the previous work. And Eric looked at it and said, this looks cool, and went forward with whatever he was presented. So having somebody who knows what they're doing saying, no, Eric, this is not good. Let's fix this one. This may be the best book that they produce just because of that.
I mean, it's possible, but for me, it's not just the art. It's going to come down to the writing. And we know that Eric is the editor in chief. So we'll see what fucking happens. Anyway, let's continue.
Ripaverse. Sure. What we have now is okay. but we can take it to the next level. So everybody from Deborah to Will Conrad, to of course Cliff with Isom, everybody, Joe Bennett. Kanan dropped some notes.
It is extremely, and I don't think Eric understands this because he's not an artist. It is extremely disrespectful to say someone like Joe Bennett needs help from Kanan White.
Yeah.
Because look, I'm not a Joe Bennett fan. Like, I can't think of anything that he's done that I've been like, it's amazing. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't read any of the books that he was like on a regular artist on, but I've seen his work, and whether or not he's a competent artist isn't even in question. I mean, he's a great artist. Like I think a lot of his work untouched for Alpha Core was beautiful. Like some of the shots, even though it looked like Superman basically, but they were beautiful shots. But I don't think Kanan coming in and helping him is a flex for him. You know what I mean? Like, whether he's great or not, like if I were someone at his level working in the mainstream, at least for the time that he did, and you're like, oh, this guy came in, it's like, took me to the next level. You know what I mean? Like, I
don't see that.
Because I think Kanan's trying to get into the mainstream, right? I think he wants to work on like a DC or Marvel title. Salty goes, Joe Bennett is mid. I didn't say that, Salty. You said it. And Julia says, I have no love for the Joe Bennett art. I don't think Joe Bennett is the greatest. I'm saying from the perspective of somebody who has been in the industry for a while, that is at least a competent artist. Having someone come in who's not in the industry that's going to oversee your work, that seems like I would take that very, very disrespectfully, personally. Michael says Kanan White has never worked in the industry as far as I know. Right. He's a great look. I still think Kanan is the best artist that he has access to from what I've seen. But Kanan just doesn't have the same experience working in the industry that some of these other artists do. And I thought Eric wanted that. It's very disrespectful. Exactly. I thought Eric wanted that same quality the mainstream has by using people that are no longer working in the industry, or they're working for Glasshouse, I guess, at this point. Which it makes me wonder, is the reason why Kanan isn't on a book, does he have an exclusionary deal with Glasshouse? Is that part of their contract, I wonder? That the artists that do the books have to come from their company?
I don't know.
Is that too much speculation?
Yeah.
I feel like it might be. I'm just kind of spitballing here because it seems a little weird that you have access to Kanan and he's only overseeing the artwork. You know, I mean, or maybe he doesn't want to do it. Look, it's quite possible that Kanan's like, I don't want any of the drama that comes with working on a Rippaverse book. I don't want any of that. I'm just going to sit back. You can send me a paycheck and I will draw over people's shit. like maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure Salty is right about all of that. His latest one there, that one there.
Yeah.
The thing is, in the alternative, Rippa himself was trying to review people's art, and we know what happens when you do that. You get 3D assets that look like crap. So whether he should be over these people or not, he at least is somebody with some knowledge, and Eric isn't. So he needed somebody with art knowledge to look at the stuff and tell him if it was good. How can he has no taste at all?
Yeah, he brought him in because it's an actual artist, and he can just
somebody who actually can look at stuff and say, is it good or not?
Oh my God, I just thought about this. So he can literally pass the buck to someone else. He's hired people in every position that he has available, because once he's done with ISOM 3, if that ever fucking comes out, he has a bunch of people working for him. He's not even doing anything anymore. He has the Saska sisters.
Flops, then he's got a bunch of people to blame. He's got the Saskas for whatever story work and so forth. He's got this guy for overseeing the art. Well, I brought him in and paid him to oversee the art. I'm sorry, it sucks.
Yeah. Kanan is very, very slow when it comes to page work. I wasn't aware of that. Makes sense though. Well, you know what? They say that people that do super detailed stuff take the longest, and people that are able to create. Look, this is completely sidetracked from this, but one of the things that someone brought up, and I wish I could remember who it was on Twitter, and they shared a picture of like Cyclops side by side. One picture of Cyclops was from our era, low watermark, where you had the little pirate boots and the blue spandex and the gold visors and the gold trunks and gloves. And then next to him you had like a modern Cyclops where he's wearing pockets everywhere. All the boots have like the soles are super stylized, and the top is a jacket, and the visor's got all these buttons and stuff on it. And it's like, this is why comic books take so long to come out now, because you've gone away from these like concept costumes to like everything has to look like real life. And it takes forever to make those, like to draw that out. So I thought that was kind of funny. Here we go.
We had our series of corrections, redraws.
Oh,
So there were corrections.
I thought that he said I think it was in response to EVS that there will be no redraws.
And hence EVS's challenge that says then that page with her head clearly on a broken neck turned all the way back, that page is going to be in there then, right?
So he has admitted in this clip that there are redraws in Yaira.
It should be interesting.
God, he's such a liar. He is such a liar. He just lies like it's nothing all the time.
From all of the artists for their books.
All of them.
And they were elevated. The first book that you're going to see Kanan's presence on, as far as his leadership as a director, will be this book. And holy shit, this is Deborah's best work to date, as far as I'm concerned.
So wait a minute. This stuff on the campaign page was not. This is the old stuff, right? This was the stuff that's been on the campaign since the beginning.
Well, I know the lower right with the old woman, and all that's old. Yeah, the one next to that is old. I don't know.
So why is he showing these off like it's the
like it's
changed
new
artwork? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
The talented artist. And though, like I said, Kanan.
By the way, that's not good. Like that
No.
woman's face is like dead eyes. There's nothing there. It's just not good at all.
And no eyes on Yaira through the glasses.
Yeah.
You can't see anything.
And I mean, she looks so stiff too. There's no fluidity to her movement. Okay. Anyway.
With what he was able to do with taking these artists all to the next level, it does speak to their professionalism. Okay. Because Deborah took those notes, took it to the next level. Will Conrad takes those notes, took it to another level. Joe Bennett, fucking Joe Bennett Horseman. Holy shit, when y'all read that. Joe Bennett's Horseman. So damn good. Takes it to another notch.
Isn't it Chuck Dixon's Horseman? I mean, Joe Bennett didn't write it. Wait, is it Joe Bennett's book? Is he writing it? Is he the writer and the artist?
Well, but I thought he just meant at the art level, not
okay.
story
Maybe.
level.
You might be right. Yeah.
You read Alpha Core, but this book is better from Joe's artwork perspective. And Chuck Dixon's also on the project, just like he was with Alpha Core. All of these artists taking it to the next level. And the first one that you get to see is, of course,
Yaira.
Remember, Karita. With this.
What are these pauses for? I don't understand.
I don't know. He's trying to make sure he's not lying about something else, apparently.
His brain is always working. Always.
Which starts shipping Monday and Tuesday. So thank you guys. If you have not got in already, we have all 4 covers that you can get. CGC copies.
Okay, that's interesting. They still have all 4 covers available. They did not sell out. And keep in mind, this was one of the books that got like early access for Mac members to make sure that they got in and got their covers early. And they still have availability on all 4 covers.
Well, they said that he bought all 4 covers in numbers more reasonable than he did with previous books. He didn't buy 50,000 of one cover. He bought some numbers of thousands beyond what he sold. And he's somewhere around 19,000 total sales as far as books go. So yeah, he's not selling out at any of these. They're
That's
all
really interesting, because haven't all the previous campaigns that sold out of at least one of the covers?
I don't know.
Am I remembering that wrong?
If they actually sold out or not.
I feel like some of them did, but maybe I'm misremembering. I think ISOM 1 did sell out of some of the covers, or at least he said they sold out of some of the covers.
He had them very limited. The Yaira cover was very limited, but we don't know that he didn't have and still has a few thousand of those sitting around. Right. He may have.
Okay, so here we go. Yeah, he claimed they sold out, but that wasn't true, because I think EVS had proved that he had more copies laying around or something like that. Screwface says the soft trade paperbacks are still available. That makes sense. Yeah, because they came out back for sale with other campaigns on his shop. Yeah, I remember that.
All right, yeah.
Which ruined the secondary market, which is why it was so
yeah.
dumb.
Yeah.
So,
gonna want to get those now because they're not moving to the store.
I actually think that's probably why this campaign struggled a little bit, because people know that he's ruined the secondary market. Like, buying them up to try and sell them back out doesn't do you any good if he's just going to have them always available for people.
Yeah.
So
I have to explain that CGC copies will not immediately move to the store. The ones that we have left of the signature series, they'll be reserved for promotional times, things that we do. If you catch us at a live event.
So you're ruining the secondary market. I mean, like, you're already telling people that they're going to be available somewhere else. So
yeah, we will sometimes sell them, but they won't be just in the store sitting there.
Doesn't
so if you want to
anything.
reserve your CGC signature series copy,
that seems like him trying to suggest that there is going to be some value to them, but still, I mean, you can still get them. So we'll see how that happens. I'm going to be watching to see what the value of the Yaira signature series is going to be on eBay, which I do think that a couple times the books have sold for a lot, but I'm wondering if people have learned their lesson by now. We'll see.
Of both the magazine, the Ripazine, as well as Yaira #1, signed by the Saskas. You're going to want to go grab those right now in the store. Go get them.
I got a question. What's the deal with the Ripazine? Like, I know there's a short story in it or something. Do you know a lot about what's in that magazine at all? Or
well, there are a couple of videos where people have thumbed through a couple of it. They've shown some things. It doesn't look like anything as far as I'm concerned.
It seems to me like another promotional thing, like just him trying to sell more stuff.
Well, it is. It's an advertisement for other things. And yeah, they put that the PI story in there, I guess, as something unique to that. But
oh my God, did they put that in there just to sell people an ad book? Is that what that was? They're just like, oh, we're going to stick the story in to make people pay for ads. Like,
well, and the stories that are in there, something about ways of getting men to, advice to men. There's an advice to men's column, I guess, is one of the things. It's crazy. You'd have to look at the Ripazine, a video on it. It's crazy stuff.
Yes, the Ripazine is like what, $7?
$7, and then there's a premium version of it, which it may not be called premium, but it actually has whatever the word is on the front cover of it, and it costs more because the word is there. The cover is different. What's inside is the same, apparently. I don't know. He's
oh my God! Like, just the way he comes, like, just be a shipping service. Just be a shipping service. Like, I don't understand. All right, there's 14 seconds left. We're gonna wrap that up, and then we're gonna probably wrap up the show. But let's see here. Where's he going?
Okay. Go grab them now.
Oh, I love this right here.
Clip, clip, and snip, snip.
Oh my
It's
God.
at 1.561.
Oh no more of that. We're not gonna do that again. Thank goodness for Katie did. Those are hard to get through. Every time I see her, I have to tell her, like, I appreciate what you do so much, because the clips you get are good enough for us to like go through and get an idea of what he's talking about, but there's so many pauses in them, and it goes on for so long. Keep in mind that was 1.25 pitch up on the speed. So I just don't even know anymore. All right, so we're coming up on the 3-hour mark. We've been an hour longer, but that's because we were having so much fun here, and you guys in the chat have been so good. So thank you guys so much for the super chats we got tonight. We had a couple of those. Thank you for those, and thank you for being so engaging, everybody. I do appreciate you hanging out and being a part of the show. There is going to be a members only stream either the end of this week or the beginning of next week. I'm shooting for the end of this week. I want to get it in before we get into the weekend. I don't know when that's going to happen, but basically what that'll be is it's a members only chat, meaning that people can watch the stream, but only members can chat. And then the stream will be for members only afterwards. And it's going to be like a different setup than like this. Like, we're not going to be just doing this or whatever. And I've got some friends that are going to join. I'll let you know about that. But before we head out, I want to say thank you to Low Watermark for being here. Thank you so much for joining me and spending 3 hours chatting with me about detracting. I do appreciate it.
Oh, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
And everybody loves you, so you'll definitely have to come back again. I think the chat would totally appreciate that. Thank you to all the team members in the chat as well. Some of you guys have been on for a couple months, and some of you guys got previews from Low Watermark. So if you're enjoying the early access and the badges and the emotes, remember that when it comes time to renew. I'd love to have you guys on for that. And that's going to be it. So I don't have any special outro. I'm very simple here. It's a very basic thing. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time. By the way, this is going to stay up The only thing that might happen is the Furiosa thing with Nerdrotic might get clipped out of here. So we'll see. It's gonna be my new thing. I have to tell Katie did. Hopefully she doesn't sue me for trademark or copyright or anything like that. So anyway, see you guys later. Have a good night.